Good morning. Welcome to the Studio Q Show Live. Here we go, guys. It is 10 a.m. in beautiful, sunny Denver, Colorado this morning. I hope wherever you're joining us from, you have nice weather as well. Let's see if we can get some people in here. The group chat, I'm going to open up the Q&A, and we're going to start letting people filter in here. I'm going to start sending some links out. I think I can send some links out here. We'll get some people in here. There we go. So today we're going to try to look at some photographs and do some critiques on some photographs, hopefully, if everything goes right. We'll see what is going down. So I'm going to send a couple links out. Live show hangout link. And we will let the fun begin. Hopefully. I had some electrical work going on down here in my studio darkroom today, this morning. So I'm just kind of getting back into the groove here. So, hey, Jan, hello, hello. How's it going, buddy? Can you jump in here? You'll figure it out. I know it's always this way. Every time we start a live hangout, it takes a few minutes to get the groove going, if you will. So we'll be patient. Patience is the key here. Let's see. What else do we have? 6 viewers. We have 6 viewers. Hello, viewers. If you have a question, type it in the Q&A. I'll go over to the chat and see what's going on there, too. Is there anybody in the chat? To list all available commands. Okay. Greetings. Welcome to the live show. Cool, there's somebody coming in. There's Jan.
Hello.
Good evening. How are you? Looks like, let's see if we can answer this call here.
Okay. Hi, Quinn. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. How are you doing, Jan?
Perfect. I'm fine. I'm happy that I'm joined now. That all looks fine on my side.
Good, 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 good. That's good news. We're trying to get some more. People are hitting me up, but yeah, missed call from Charleston, Andy, Charleston, Jan, and Stephen. I hope you all can get in. I sent the link out, and I think everybody should be good to go. Let's see if they are. I think we're okay. So today, like I said, hopefully we get to see some photographs. We can take a look at some people's work and see what people are doing, and if they want, we can give them some feedback and try to make it productive and interesting as possible. I've been doing a lot of work down here in my studio and darkroom area lately, but had some electrical stuff going on this morning, had an electrician coming over, putting some more outlets in and different things, some circuit breakers, so kind of I got to get in the mode here of looking at some work. How's life treating you, Jan, as we wait for some other people to get in here?
Please, can you repeat your... somebody is calling you.
Yeah, I need to know how to answer these.
Okay.
Let's see.
This morning, had an electrician coming up.
Hello.
Putting some more outlets in and different things, circuit breakers. So
I've got.
Kind of, I gotta get.
I've got her. Check this out.
Oh.
How's life treating you, Jan, as we wait for just whether people can get in here.
Can you get in? Oh, they're coming in on this side. We can't have that. No, come in. No. Oh my. Oh, I don't know what's going on. I'm not going to get on the phone. You guys have got to come in this broadcast. See, I don't know why we can't get people in. I'm not really sure.
On my side, everything went fine. I
Your
got
side.
link from you and
Yeah.
just clicked on it, and that's it. Yeah.
Okay, let me send it to. Let me see if I can send it out to the people that are trying to get in here. Let's see if I go back to. God, I thought I invited everyone, but maybe I'm not getting how to do this. I'm not really sure. I thought I had it down, but we'll figure it out. I don't have Christine's email, so I don't know, guys. We're going to have to play it by ear here and see if we can figure out how. I don't know how to answer these calls that are coming in. I turned my phone off. Invite people. So your circles. Oh, Charleston, I think is her name. Charleston Tintype. So I'm going to send it out again. There it goes again. So hopefully we get some people in here. I'm not really sure what's happening this morning. We'll wait. We'll be patient. 12 viewers. Let's see if there's anything going on in the chat. Join group chat. Let's see if I can put a link in here. Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm just kind of learning how to do all this stuff myself. So if you have any suggestions and you've worked in this Hangouts for a while, let me know. I've only done it a few times, so I'm still kind of working it out, but it's coming along. Okay, Brent M. Brent, good morning, Brent. Are you in, buddy? And Senior Ismail, are you in? Greetings from California. Doug's in. Hello, Doug. James Pearson, hello. Yeah, we got some people in. So good deal. So if I see you guys out there, oh, I just sent you an image and a brief of it on your Facebook message. Hope it reached you. Okay, I'll look at that. Let's pull it up and take a look. We can start right now. I'm going to go over to Facebook and look at his message and see what we can do. And let's use Mr. Ismail's image here. Oh, a broken one. Hi, Quinn. What bad luck I had preparing. Oh, wow. Very interesting. Yep, I've had it happen before myself. What I'll do here, Jan, you can be our test example here as we warm up here. This is Mr. Ismail's image. And I'm going to screen share this, and you tell me how it looks after I do this. There.
Okay.
And pull this up. And can you see that? What do you see, Jan?
Yeah, I can see it. It's not so bad quality. It's viewable. It is possible to read this picture. Yeah.
So you can see it, huh?
Yeah. Now it is hidden. You have hide this.
Yeah.
Screen,
I just wanted to try an example to see. So we can do that. Okay, that works. And that's
all.
just. And do you see this this screen share on the left side of your screen, Jan? This little green box with a white arrow in it.
Yes, yes, yes. I know.
Click on that and let me see if you can share your screen or show an image. I just want to see.
Yeah, I will show you something.
Okay. And as Jan's doing that, I just want to let the rest of you know that's watching, that's not on the live feed or in the video chat. I just want to let you know that I just sent
I
out.
will show you
Okay.
one picture.
Okay, that's okay, Barbara. You can just hang there, Barbara. You're fine. And I sent the link out again to the circle. So if you're in my Google's Hangout, you'll get. Okay, here we have somebody now. Oh yeah, Jan. Okay, here we go. Oh yeah, yeah.
That's me.
Yes, I can tell. You're the one with the hat
That's
on.
my
No?
self-portrait with my cat.
Wonderful. Look at what's your cat's name?
Yeah, Lisa. The name is Lisa.
Lisa, okay.
This is my self-portrait. Yeah, taken on wet plate, 8 by 10 inches from last year.
Beautiful.
It was quite demanding to prepare all the stuff by myself. It took about 1 hour, and then to catch my cat in our house. And I'm really proud on it because the exposure time was about maybe 1 or 2 seconds, and our Lisa, it looks great. Yeah, it's without movement, so I'm very proud of it.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So you know how to do that now, Jan. Welcome, Christine. Welcome, James. I see you in the feed. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be. Jan was just, we were just playing with the screen share to share some work today. And for those that are in the live video chat now, over on the left-hand side, this little green box with the white arrow, it may be disappearing, so you might have to roll over it to see it. You can just click on screen share when you want to share something, and then we can all see it. And those of you that are in chat, like Barbara and Doug, Doug asked, how did you get such a great photo of your cat, Jan?
What's the question?
Doug Winter in Sacramento, California. He's in. Yeah, you see him, right? So, how did you get such a great photo of your cat?
Yeah, my idea was, it is a little, it's a story about it. I was alone at home in the summer 2014, and yeah, I have an idea to take a portrait, self-portrait, but not some usual portrait of me, like, you know, this frontal images without. I wanted to have it with my cat. So I prepared my camera outside in front of my house, and then I prepared my plate. It was sensitized and all was ready, but I was not able to catch my cat because she's not running outside. She's at home because we are afraid about her because she's she spent its whole life in our house. So,
so now
after 5 or 10 minutes, I was able to have our Lisa in my hands. So then I ran outside and I really completely took this picture by myself. You can imagine maybe how demanding was prepare all the stuff in the summer. And I was really excited about this picture because it was only one attempt, one exposure, and no second image. Yeah. So I'm very proud on it, and I present myself with this picture now on all social networks. This is my avatar picture for everywhere.
That's a good. I thought there.
You can see. And you can see in my left, or vice versa, in my right hand, I am holding this ball. When I pressed the
vacuum relay. Vacuum.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Pneumatic. We say in English, pneumatic shutter.
Pneumatic shutter.
Yeah. using air.
Yeah, air shutter. Yeah. How it is called, please?
Pneumatic. In English it's pneumatic.
Pneumatic. Yeah. Okay. So
Jan,
and it's
Jan, share your image again for everyone. Go ahead and do the screenshot again, please.
now it is hidden. Okay. So I sorry. Yeah, I
No, it's
will
okay.
share
It's
it
okay.
again.
Yep. There it is. So wow, she's just really super sharp, and yeah, I see your forward hand. The depth of field is shallow, but I see your forward hand. You're releasing the shutter.
Yes, yes. I have used 300 millimeter Schneider Kreuznach. It's my standard lens. It's
Yeah.
my actually first lens for wet plate pictures, for wet plate work. What I have, and this only lens has this how to call this cord, this how it is called in English. Yeah, this.
Pneumatic shutter release, yeah.
Yeah, this shutter release, yeah. All other my lenses are without shutter release, yeah. So the distance was about, I don't know, three meters maybe, and all was prepared really, really, yeah. I put outside in front of my house a seat. Then I tried to make a proper focus on my seat, and you can imagine it was really. Let's say a little bit how to say it, yeah, it was yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know if the focus will be okay, because I put only seat on the floor outside,
Yeah.
on the ground, and then you know, if you move a little bit and in distance 3 meters, you simply lose this depth of field. I think it was
what was your depth of
5.6.
field? What was your aperture setup for that?
Yeah, my aperture, I remember it was the lowest possible, 5.6.
Yeah, 5.6. That's what I thought. So 5.6 at, what did you say, about a meter away? 2 meters? A meter, rather?
Maybe I think this is 300 millimeter lens with 8 by 10 inches camera, Kodak
so
2D.
A normal lens. So yeah, so 5.6, yeah. So the depth of field, you're gonna get decent depth of field, and you can see that. The only thing, and I know we're not really critiquing this, but I would have put a reflector up and bounced some light up underneath your hat there.
Yeah, it was wittingly done. I didn't want to show my face. Yeah, it was.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
because
my eyes go right to the cat's face, of course. Yeah.
Yes. My idea was to make self-portrait, but the main subject should be or is our cat. It was made wittingly, not because I knew the sun was a little bit strong.
Yeah.
And my head is bald, and therefore I decided
you didn't want to create a great reflection.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Therefore, I decided to put this black cap on my head, and to hide my face partially.
Yeah. So, okay. I got you. I love it. The cat's interesting. Yeah. The beautiful cat. She looks a little panicked, like what's going on here. But yeah, a great shot. Really difficult to do in collodion. I'm always impressed when I see images like Doug and Catherine. They're saying that. They love it, and I love animals. So to see one in collodion, that you see very few of them in the 19th century, and if you ever see those, and they're for sale and they're reasonable, you should snag them up, because they are quite rare. Although a lot of people tried to photograph their animals, but today it's a breeze, right? We just take our iPhone and boom, they're nice big sharp 12 megapixel camera in our phone kind of thing, but.
Exactly.
Yeah, great. Well, does anybody want to share something here? You guys want to jump in here? And here we go. Let's get to. Can you unmute yourself, Christine? Unmute yourself. There's a little button on your icon there. Yeah, you'll find it. Take your time. It's fine. Yeah. Let's see if I can unmute you. Can I unmute you? Muted. Unmute.
I got it. I think I got it. Hello? Can you hear me?
Hello.
Hello? Can you hear me, Quinn? Oh, okay, you can. All right, I'm just pulling up my images as we speak. My computer's a little bit slow because of the chat going on at the same time.
Yeah, no problem. Take your time, Christine. We have some time, and we want to get everybody kind of in that wants to share something or get some feedback. And
Okay.
Tony just joined us. Good morning, Tony, from San Francisco, California.
Good morning.
I'm not sure where James is from, but so Christine, you know that if you roll over on your monitor there, you get that screen share button, and you can just click on that and share whatever you'd like. So, we'll wait for you.
Sorry. Okay.
No
I think
problem.
wait a second. View.
We're just hanging out here.
Open. True. In a hangout, literally.
Hey, it's like sitting around in a coffee shop. Oh, hi, I'm from Scotland in the UK. Things are chaos here with the kids, so I'll spare you that. Okay, no problem. That's great. Welcome, Scotland. I love Scotland. That's a wonderful country. In fact, I've got this beautiful Deroshi lens. Oh, I'm sorry. I just did a demo. I was just up at the University of Northern Colorado, and I was doing my lecture and a workshop up there the other day, and my camera's out, still packed away in my case. But I got that big, beautiful Deroshi, that 2.5 lens from Glasgow. A friend there hooked me up, so it was wonderful. I've been to Glasgow a few times. I love it. Yeah, it's what is it? It's 10:22 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. Today in Denver we have beautiful weather. It's sunny, not a cloud in the sky. It's beautiful here. So bad. Just want to close my computer down right now and go jump on my Harley Davidson and go riding. Real bad.
Okay. I don't know if you can hear me, but I'm not having success with Photoshop.
Yeah, it's okay. Take your time. There's Doug and Catherine.
Hey, how's it going, Quinn?
Today in Denver we have beautiful weather. Good. Cloud in the sky. We just had some feedback. I just muted that feedback. Welcome, Doug and Catherine. It's great to see you guys in here. The crowds will grow as we go along. So we have a few viewing, and our video chat's almost full, not quite, but it'll get going. I sent out the link. Somebody's asking here. I think it's Dale again. Dale, I sent out to all my circles in the Google Hangouts the link to get in here. So you guys check your Google circles or the links, and you'll find that link.
Okay. So should I press that green button?
Yes. Go ahead and press the screen share button.
Okay, where'd it go? It disappeared.
Welcome, Joseph.
Okay, here we go.
You have the screen share up there?
Oh, I see now. Okay.
Yeah, and you press that, and then it'll pop up a little dialog box, and you'll pick where you want to share or what you want to share.
And share.
Yep. So
okay, do you see that?
Not yet, but we're waiting.
What's up, Quinn?
Yep. Hey, what's going on? Hey, there we go. You got it. You got it. That looks good.
Gosh, it took forever. Okay, this is
okay,
one
Christine,
of my pictures.
Just 1 second. I'm going to mute myself, and the floor is yours, okay?
Okay. All right. Okay, so this is one of my pictures. I'm doing a series at the moment with what I call the paper dolls. So one of them, what I will do is with these anyway, I had some pictures, vintage photographs, and I cut them out. Well, I made a copy and cut them out and staged little scenes. And this one here is actually called the Ghost of Her Former Self. And as you can see on the right, there's a shadow. And the idea behind this is that she's crossing over, I guess, after her demise, and it is what it is. So that's a 5x7, and I can show you another one.
So hold on here, Christine. Can you go back to that for just a second? I'm interested to ask you a couple of things about it. Very, very interesting work, by the way. Reminds me of that sensationalist Robert. He's got like a family name. You know, those really. I know probably Doug and Catherine probably know who I'm talking about. He's got a book out. It's fantastic. Like, they're big balls and things out in the sticks. And do you guys know his name by chance? Do you know?
Oh, are you talking about Parkinson or something like that?
Robert Park Harrison.
Robert Park Harrison?
Yeah.
I knew you guys would know it. Perfect. Yeah. That's what that work reminds me of, is that kind of presence. And I'm curious to know. It says ghost of her former self. And I'm curious to know, Christine, what are you implying here? Ghost of your former self. Are you implying some pre-life or physical life? Or give us a little insight into your thinking there, if you don't mind.
Sure. Yeah. Well, the whole thing with the paper dolls thing, I was thinking that really, well, it got me thinking. I was looking at a magazine actually with paper dolls for sale, and I thought, you know, I remember when I played with those when I was a kid, and they weren't meant to really last very long, and I kind of felt like there was a connection between that and our bodies, because we're not for a very long time, and we're kind of here for a short period on Earth, and we're really fragile, and I think there is something else besides that, our spirit or soul or whatever you call it. I think that is more, there's duration there, and I think it continues on and after we're gone. So I guess that's why that got me started on doing this series.
Yeah, I think the word ephemeral comes to mind, and enduring, like you said, and this kind of beautiful composition and these little added things. The shadow is just, though, very powerful. Even it's a little frightening to me. It's a little scary to me. It doesn't look like it looks like a yin and yang, a light and dark. There's all kinds of influences for me going on here, like a bit of Van Gogh even, but definitely this kind of yin and yang spiritually, like you're talking about. And that's exactly what visually, I mean, that's a successful image to my mind. What you just explained and what I saw intuitively and what I saw visually here makes a whole lot of sense to me. Does anybody else want to have anything? Hold that image up there. Does anybody else have anything to say? Unmute yourself, and I'm going to mute myself.
So, can you hear me, Quinn? Oh, good. I just think it's beautiful. I responded so much to this. It's really powerful. I like what you said about the shadows, and I love that you can see the strings coming down, showing that connection with the stars, giving that kind of man-made, hand-touched feel. And to me, it is really evocative of memories, about how, you know, our memories are based on our experiences, but then they also change as we grow older, and they become real manifestations of what we want them to be and what we wish they would be. And to me, there's this really nice balance between those things and that kind of natural and man-made, and the way that we impart ourselves on our own memories. I just love it. Yeah, very inspiring.
Very well said, Catherine. I totally agree. You guys are much more articulate than me. That's well said.
Thank you. Well, it's easy when you're looking at such a wonderful image.
Yeah, that's true. And on the tree shadow too. This is kind of giving me these kinds of, as Catherine was talking, I I was looking at what she was describing, and I actually missed the strings, which is beautiful. I think that's wonderful. I thought they might have been artifacts or something on the plate. That's really lovely. And then this tree, the shadow of the tree coming up. It's really interesting to me how the roots and the life of the tree, and yet it's also past or in the shadow area as well too. So it's an the stars are, the tree is, the only thing is the doll or the figure.
Yeah, and I love that the shadow of the figure doesn't have wings, and so that leads you to believe, you know, is it the shadow of the figure? Is it someone else? Is it a manifestation of a, you know, of a memory of you know, the person in the photograph, or the person
you know what I thought, Catherine, what I mentioned earlier, it's a little bit scary because it's like the darker side of, you know, in a way to me. So wonderful stuff. Good stuff. I'll jump out. You can go ahead, Christine. Thank you, Catherine. That was
okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Very interesting to hear other people's point of view. And okay, so I guess that's my favorite of the three that I wanted to show you. But the next one was before that one. It looks a little bright on here, but all these pictures really made me think about how to stage things so that, yeah, they look handmade. It's not Photoshop. So it was a challenge. Here, I like eyeballs, so I wanted to incorporate eyeballs into the image. It's actually called Judge Not. I wanted. It's kind of tied in with the previous picture that, you know, again, they're passing over. She's in the in-between stage where she is being, I guess, judged for her previous actions in life, and the eyeballs are floating. They're symbolizing, I guess, spirits in a way that are looking at her and judging her. And I suspended them. People have asked me, how did you do the eyeballs being suspended? And they were actually connected to a piece of foam core, which is the background, and hanging out with pipe cleaners. And it was kind of tricky to get them positioned so you couldn't see the pipe cleaners. And then I wanted some kind of mist, and I really wanted more mist, but I got that bit of white coming in, which is from a fog machine. I wanted it a little bit more misty, but, you know, that's the best I could do.
Can I give you a little technical secret here, Christine, that you can use the next time you make an image like this, a still life? Take a piece of tin foil and crumple it up and kind of make a funnel, kind of a triangle shape out of it. And if you put that in the photograph and move it across, it'll look just like smoke. And the more you do it, the thicker that will be. And that tin foil, it's what they did in the 19th century as well, I believe, or at least some of the early photographs. They used that, like that spirit photography at the turn of the century. Yeah. They used tin foil.
Okay, I'll give that a try, because I do have another picture I'm working on, and I was trying to figure out what I'm going to do. I thought about that, like maybe paper or something, but I guess tin foil too would reflect more light. Is that right?
Tin foil, it reflects the light, and you have the motion and the long exposure. You can make it look like steam or smoke, or you experiment with that. You'll be amazed. It's a wonderful special effect.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll try that. Okay, so that's that one.
And can we ask you, your imagery, at least these two that I've seen, are heavily spiritual, I guess, is the best. I don't want to say religious. I would say spiritual. Would you mind sharing what your religious or spiritual background or present is, or where the...
Yeah, I don't mind talking about that. Well, I guess I didn't know. I wouldn't call myself very religious in the traditional sense where people, you know, go to church every Sunday and pray. And I was raised as Greek Orthodox, which is Christian, but we didn't go to church a lot. I went to a Catholic school, so I was going to church once a week with my school, even though I wasn't Catholic. I was going, so it was interesting to be brought up and be exposed to two different denominations. And I don't really go to church. I think I mean, I'm a believer in a lot of different things. So
I see the influence of Christianity for sure, and maybe some other things, but I definitely see this influence of these ideas, these theological ideas in your imagery right off the bat. I mean, wings and you know, passing, spiritual, dying, your body dying, your spirit going to somewhere else. Now the second image with the judging and even basically you have a biblical name. You know, is this called Judge Not? What was it called again?
Yeah. It's called Judge Not.
Yeah. Judge Not. Then the second part of that is unless you want to be judged.
Right. Exactly. Yes. Yes. Yeah, I think there's a lot of that going on in the world. People tend to do, and I mean, I try and keep an open mind as much as possible. Of course. Yeah. It's not always.
And your figures are all female, of course, because that's where you're, you know, you're female, so why not, right?
Right.
And that's a conscious choice you're making, correct?
Yes. I guess they're kind of autobiographical in a way.
Yeah. That's what I was kind of getting. Yeah, exactly. I love it. I mean, it's my favorite kind of work, primarily because it's about you, and you're the authority on you, and only you can speak about you. And I love that, and I love the spiritual quality to these images, and the way you've executed them are fantastic. I mean, really. I mean, very creative, very hands-on, very three-dimensional. And then the collodion, the process itself, adds so much to that. You work a lot like I do, or in the same kinds of concepts. I told you my four little legs are identity, difference, memory, and justice. That kind of idea permeates through. You know, that's me and thinking about the world. And your images really reflect you and your thinking about your place in the world, or even maybe the other world, or whatever happens when we die, kind of thing. So very interesting for me.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that feedback. You know, it's very encouraging to hear positive things. I feel like this series, I'm making a little bit of a breakthrough, personal breakthrough within my work, because up until this point, I've been working with what's in front of me as far as finding a model and working with the model, and here I sort of turned it inward and tried to reflect more on me and getting the idea across, rather than not really what's already there, you know?
Right.
So
sure. I think you're successful. I think it's working really well. In fact, I really look forward to seeing more of this type of work and see where you go with it. That's really, I mean, that's really so narrative based, so strong for me. I mean, you're combining all the components that I wish that I could execute so well. I want to tell stories, and I'm not very good at telling stories this way. I wish I could fabricate scenes. I wish I could do those things without being cheesy and stupid. These things are very, very powerful. They're well executed, and it takes a lot of thinking and skill to do that. And so I'm impressed, and I look forward to seeing more.
Well, and thank you. I was afraid. I'm going to stop sharing that in a minute. I was just afraid that someone would say, "Oh gosh, that is cheesy," you know.
Well,
so it's very encouraging.
Somebody might, but those are the people that don't look at it in context. You know, text out of context is a pretext. So when you cherry pick, you can make anything look silly. If you don't have the context of it, it might be silly. But once you get the context of it, that's the story, right? These images, for me, are just the way to communicate something I can't say, or a feeling I have that I can't get out. These photographs are a way for me to do that, and I see that same thing in everyone that's sharing work that I've seen, that I've talked with, have that same desire. I think that's the hurdle to get over, right? Is understanding, how do I execute this so it tells the story, and that it doesn't come out, you know, cheesy or misrepresent. That's the difficulty of it, I think.
Yeah, I agree. It's very difficult. That's why I haven't really done that many in the series. I've done, 3 and working on the 4th, since, I guess, last year. It's been about 6 months, so I haven't done that many, and I've been busy. It's hard to make time. I work full time and a day job, and then come home. You know. Anyway, so it's difficult. My time, I guess, you know, a lot of artists that I've spoken with, they sort of set aside studio time, and they say, okay, I'm going to work in the studio every day for an hour, and I'm having a hard time kind of creating, forcing myself to do that. So I don't know what you would recommend as far as, do you think that's a good policy to say, okay, I'm going to spend a certain time in the studio and work and force myself to work, or should I just go with the flow whenever it hits me?
That is that is the $64,000 question. I'll let everybody can chime in on that. I'll give you my 2-minute view on that. I feel the same way. A lot of times I feel like I should only work when I'm compelled to work, right? Like when I have this urge, right? Like when you get hungry or you need to go to the toilet or something, that kind of forceful kind of thing. And then I've tried to say, oh God, I don't want to pour another plate. I don't even want to smell ether today, right? So I force myself to go do something. And I've had both things work very well for me. So to answer the question is really difficult. It's like, yes and yes. You should maybe do both. Maybe try a little of both. That's what I found I'm doing. I do find, though, that if I plan and I say I'm going to commit this much time, and this project that I'm working on now, the Ghost Dance one, is just really such a huge commitment because I have to go out and I have to, all this stuff I have to prepare, I have to travel, I have to, you know, I have to plan out, I have to look at the weather, the time of the year. So a lot of this work, I can't just go out and make work when I have the urge, or I just can't go out and force myself to do that if the conditions aren't right, or I can't, you know, the weather or the season or whatever. So the short answer for me is both. I think you should work when you feel compelled, and when you feel the feeling that you should work but don't feel like working, you should work. That's my 2 cents. Anybody else?
Well, I think there's a lot of I, like you, think it's a really important question to ask, but what I had to do was really allow myself to realize that the work that I do, even when I'm not making a photograph, is important. So sketching, watching movies, looking at images, talking about images, looking at shows, things like that are just as important as being in the studio and making a plate. Because I, like you know, sometimes you go out there and the smell, you think, I can't do this today, or the energy isn't right there, but then perhaps you can sketch and, you know, I love to look at photo books and talk about photography, and those things often inspire me more than being out and making a plate and getting frustrated when it's not working.
Very, very well said. I think you just hit on something really important, Catherine. I think the idea of influence is incessant, right? Even if we're not present or conscious, like if we're exposed to something, we see something, we hear something, we taste something, whatever it is, that affects us. So I'm totally with you. I did my graduate degree at Goddard College in Plainfield, Vermont, and their pedagogy is very much just what Catherine said. Their pedagogy says, look, yes, we know you're an artist that works in X medium, whatever it is, painting, sculpture, photography, whatever you're doing, it doesn't matter. But the real important work happens when you're feeding that or informing that medium or your work with other disciplines and other ideas. So I do psychology, sociology, chemistry. There's all kinds of stuff that influence me. So if I can't make a photograph or I don't feel like making photographs, I can fire up a documentary that I bet Vivian Maier documentary or something that I haven't seen that I want to see that will eventually either come out in my work or influence me about how I execute my work or think about my work or talk about my work. I totally agree, Catherine. I think everything is important, and I think the image making is the important part that the public sees. But as artists, I think everything we do is terribly important. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, and I agree with you, and I think Charleston, when you're making such deep work, like the two images that you showed, those are deeply personal images, and I think that images like that can drain you, and you sometimes need to work tentatively with them. So what I kind of do sometimes is have, I've got an ongoing project, and then I have something that's a little easier to work on, so that if I feel like shooting and I have someone over, I can take their portrait, but I'm always kind of thinking about that deeper project, and even though I don't get to work on it as much as I want to, when I do get to, the application is really personal. So I think that it's okay to give yourself permission to work on this slowly, and then maybe have some kind of fluffy things that you like doing, like taking portraits or still life, or whatever that may be. I mean, for me, I use my iPhone a lot. I just take pictures with that, or with other types of formats, and then always in the back of my mind have those larger projects, so that when I do get to them, I can give them as much attention as they need.
Such wonderful advice, Catherine. I mean, there's nothing I can say. That's perfect.
I'm sorry, I don't want to monopolize the conversation.
No. This is wonderful. And hey, guess what, guys? I just want to throw this in here real quick. I was fortunate enough just a couple of days ago, Tuesday and Wednesday. Tuesday I did a workshop at University of Northern Colorado up in Greeley. And Wednesday I went up and gave the closing lecture, and we closed the exhibition down. Let me tell you what, guys, I was blown away when I walked into that gallery. That was amazing. That was they're going to kill me for saying this, and it's going to go up online, so everybody's going to be able to see it. But that was one of the best collodion shows I've ever seen in my life, including my own in Paris. The idea here was so powerful, and I never thought that I would embrace kind of the technical aspect to bring work in. They didn't really have a theme. It was based around, and I'll go grab a catalog here in just a second and show it to you. It was based around the alternative photographic processes, or I wish they would have called them historic processes, but John Tonai runs the photo department at UNC up there, the University of Northern Colorado, and Joan is the gallery director, and they wanted to put a show together, and they called me up and said, hey, do you want to jury this show? And I said, I'd love to. John and I had been talking for a couple of years. John said, oh, I want to do something. Okay, yeah, we'll do something. And I hear the kind of stuff a lot, so I kind of, okay, yeah, we'll do something, and he did, and this came together, and it was a wonderful show. There were, I said there were only 10 artists in the show. There were like 17 artists. I started with 106 photographs, and I whittled them down to 22 pieces. And Catherine, who's in the show? Catherine, Tony, who else is in the show? Anybody here? Anybody else in the show up in? I don't think so.
I wish we could have made it out there for that closing reception.
No, it was a fantastic. They did such a wonderful job, and to have it in Greeley, Colorado. Check this. What I was going to say is this: you walk in this gallery, the Mariani is a beautiful space. It's a beautiful gallery in the Guggenheim building up there, and you walk into this space, and this well lit, all these images, a nice big statement, everything up there, the catalogs out, all the literature. A lot of people came through, a lot of positive feedback in the last 3 months on the show. People were blown away. But you walk in there and you see there's a black glass ambrotype, there's a clear glass, there's a silver gelatin print from a bright ambrotype, there's an albumin print, there's a salt print. There's this whole vast array of variants in this process right before you with all this wonderful, incredibly dynamic content. What a wonderful show. Man, I applaud everyone in that show. I applaud you. It was wonderful. I know not everyone can just up and fly into Denver and drive up to Greeley and see it, but believe me, it was a wonderful show, and congratulations on that. You got a lot of praise, a lot of attention in this part of the world, and people up there were blown away. I gave my lecture, and there were people in there from the history department, the sociology department, the printmaking, the whole entire visual arts department was there. It drew a lot of attention. Very, very powerful. I guarantee you we're going to do it again, too. The dean came up and introduced himself to me, the dean of the department of performing arts and visual arts department there at UNC, and I said, hey, you know, cheers to you guys, man. Congrats, hats off to you for doing this. I'm really impressed. He said, well, that's lovely. He said, would you like to do it again sometime? I said, absolutely. Anytime you want to do it in a year or two, if you want to do another show. I think these are great for small towns in little midtown America to see this wonderful, powerful presence, international show. Eastern Europe, Russia, Australia, everywhere. It was beautiful. And Catherine was in it, Doug was in it, folks here in it. Anytime, look, if you know me and you've either worked with me or we've collaborated or we've talked or you know, we're following each other's work or something, and you see I'm during a show and you don't put work in there, please put work in there. Let me see it. Let me try to give the deserving folks some credit to the in the public, because too many times these shows are, I don't know, you know, maybe I just said I'm starting a good old boy thing. I'm not. I want to reward the people with legitimate work, non-political, hard-working, determined people that are on fire to make work that's personal. And that's how I selected that show. That and the variants and the geographical locations all came together, and it was just a beautiful show. So congratulations to you guys that were in it.
Thank you so much, Quinn. I thought it was such a great idea for a show, and I just thought what a wonderful acknowledgement to even be able to have a show that's centered around the theme of collodion, and what better medium, because you can see so many iterations of it, negatives, albumin prints, silver gelatin prints, like you said, black glass ambrotypes, clear glass ambrotypes, tin types. The possibilities are endless.
Yeah, and then you have all these. Barbara, I hope you're still in this chat. Barbara, I believe she's in Iowa. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but I'll tell you what, Barbara, I hope you're listening, because when I walked up to your 6x6 centimeter, your little Holga image there and framed up, I think it was called Reaching for the Moon, very much like Christine's work that she just showed. Reaching up for the moon, this little tiny Holga plate, I was blown away. Such a beautiful image. So, you know, and I heard comments up there. There's quite a crowd there when we were there. I heard comments, people walking through the show, because they don't know who I am, so I can just kind of blend in and walk through. I heard people commenting, saying, I heard two comments. One was, wow, this is two people standing there. Wow, this is really refreshing not to see a bunch of 50-inch by 60-inch color prints on the wall. I was like, yes. You know, looking at a tiny little intimate photograph, getting really close to it, and really connecting with it. You know, and the other comment was it had something to do with content. The diversity of the content was amazing. I had to pick these online, so you never know. And I was so blown away to see all this content in context of that show. And I heard people talking, some people were saying it was weirdly fantastic. Mm-hmm. It was the most powerful exhibit. I heard one guy say it was the most powerful photographic show he'd ever seen.
Wow.
I don't know how many photographic shows he'd seen, but still quite a compliment. I had a Dutch guy. He's he's in charge of their print department at UNC. He didn't know who I was, and he was standing there looking at my trip. I had a triptych of Kayla in there, and he was standing there looking at the triptych. And I said, "What do you think about those prints?" You know, it's just you never get that opportunity. Very rarely do you get that opportunity, right? So he turned to me and he said, "Oh, I think it's beautiful." And then, you know, he said, "These prints," and he started walking over to where the prints were, because he's a printmaker. He says, "I can't believe how these feel. This is printmaking." He was just going nuts in it, you know. And man, I relate with that passion, and that's how I felt seeing the show as well too. But this complete layperson, never seen the process, didn't really know much about it. He was familiar with it, but those kinds of comments over and over and over again. And I was only up there for a few hours. I did a workshop on Tuesday for John's alternative class, but the gallery and the closing, I was only up there for a few hours. And it was really amazing. So wonderful stuff. So back to the show if we want. Does anyone have any work they want to throw up, and we'll talk about it? The only prerequisite is it has to be collodion. Because we're exclusive like that, right, guys? We're not trying to be snobby, but that's all we know. If you put a color digital photograph up, I don't know what to say about it. I don't know. No, I'm just kidding you. Anybody have it? You know what? Let me see. I want to bring up an image. If I want to share, I'll share one image with you because I'm dominating this thing anyway. But I'll share one image with you from the Ghost Dance. And I'm going to find it right now, so give me just a second. And I'll bring it back, and I'll save my screen, or I'll share my screenshot, or my screen with you. It's really easier for me. I love to post things online because I can always retrieve them again. People say, oh, you got a great blog. And I say, yeah, I use that blog so I can find the stuff that I do, and I can show it again, because this stuff just goes on and on and on. TV. And some of you have seen this image, but I'm going to share it here again because this is really important for me. Catherine was talking about exhausting images. These are exhausting images to me. So screen share, here we go. I'm going to share that. Present to everyone. So here's an image. So I've gone out on 3 or 4 junkets on Ghost Dance. Ghost Dance is a project for you that don't know. I'm just going to tell you real quick. It's Native American massacre sites in the western U.S. I've had about 3 junkets so far. This is my 2nd year in working with on this project, and I've gone through iterations of how I want to present it and what I want to do with it. This happens to be something that I'm actually really quite pleased with. I decided to do whole plate negatives and do contact prints. This is Skull Valley Massacre, 1864. A group of Native American families they were the Yavapai, and the families were, oh, you can read it right there. The Yavapai families were lured into a trap and massacred by soldiers under Lieutenant Monfils in the valley west of Prescott, Arizona. The place was named Skull Valley after the heads of the dead Indians were left unburied at the base of the teepee mountain. So could you imagine, there were about 175 people murdered here, I believe, and then they scattered their skulls all around the base of that mountain. And when I set up to make this photograph, I got my dark box out, and 2 ravens flew in. And on the print, down in the bottom right corner, you can see a raven standing there. It was the most unbelievable moment of my life when I saw those ravens fly in, and just sat there. And I asked my wife, I asked Jeannie to go to the car and grab some crackers and throw out there so they'd hang around. So I wanted them to hang around. And if you know the importance of Native American or ravens in the Native American culture, it's amazing. And the birds themselves. But this is the type of work that I'm going to be producing and have produced over the last couple of years, and we'll end up in a presentation of about 30 prints, and they will all be collodion chloride, salt, or albumin prints. There'll probably be editions of all of those. But I'm trying to do my very best in making these very beautiful 19th century-esque William Henry Jackson, Gardner, O'Sullivan type of images aesthetically, which I don't know if I'm accomplishing yet, but I'm trying. And then yet tell these horrible, you see this beautiful photograph, and then tell this horrible, terrible tragedy and put that beauty in context. And that makes me reflect tremendously as a person from the western United States, living on this land that was stolen from them, and looking at these beautiful images and then reading about like Sand Creek and Skull Valley and all these places that I've photographed and will photograph and continue to photograph. It really makes me think of my place in the country. And I know nothing can be done about this. I get that, but at the same time, I'm trying to have some kind of dialogue, some kind of. We still have problems. We still have the Pine Ridge Reservation. We still have terrible rates of suicide, alcoholism. The U.S. government still treats Native Americans terribly bad, and we ignore them. We put them on reservations so we don't have to think about them or see them, so they're out of sight, out of mind. And what I want to do with this project is lure people in to think about the plight of Native Americans. There's nothing we can do living on their land that we stole from them. There's nothing really we can do. But we can make people aware and educated about the ongoing plights on reservations today in places where the government and the restrictions the government's put on them and the neglect the government's how the government's treated them. It's a very political thing. It's very emotionally exhausting for me. It's physically exhausting for me. It's the most difficult project in every way possible that I've ever done. So having said that, that's my contribution for the day, and I'll let you guys jump back on it.
Quinn, can I ask you a question? Did you mention what the size is for these images?
They're whole plate negatives and
okay.
Whole plate contact prints.
Okay. Wow. They're mesmerizing. I love the texture within the image. And so what I think is really interesting is that, like you said, you get caught up in the beauty of the image, and then the gravity of the narration really kind of pulls it home. But one of the things, too, is that, it's such a powerful image and a powerful statement. It really kind of transcends just perhaps the Native American struggle, but could be representative of all kinds of struggles. And, essentially civil rights struggles, things like that. It really, even though it's symbolic of that particular cause, I think you could really show how it carries over into lots of other types of civil rights situations.
I totally agree, and well said. Again, that four legs of my work, that identity, difference, memory, and justice, those four legs that hold my work up. My work has to be in that realm. So whether you're applying this, and very well articulated again, whether you're applying it to modern civil rights or just otherness in general, how we treat otherness as a country or as a people or as a society, I feel an obligation, have my heritage and who I am and all those things. I feel an obligation to keep otherness, the other in our cultures, kind of elevated a little bit, just to keep them in mind so they don't fade away and we never. Then things get really bad, and now we're talking about rounding them all up again and doing something with them because they're a problem. And will that happen? Probably not. But I don't want to be so, naive and thinking that it could never happen. And I'm not saying I'm preventing anything. I'm not saying I'm solving anything. I'm saying I have an urge. I feel a genetic obligation, if you will, to hold up otherness to some degree in this culture. I can't do it everywhere all the time, but I did it with Portraits of Madison Avenue. I did it with the Glass Memories, the Holocaust work I did in Europe, and now I'm doing it here with the Native Americans. And it's all related to my history, all related to where I live, all related to my past. It's all connected to me, so I feel a compulsion to do it, but I surely don't think it's going to change anything. I'm not stupid. I'm not naive in the sense of thinking that my photographs make any difference. It's what I have to do, regardless of if they're published or exhibited or whatever. It's what I have to do. So it doesn't really matter. It does, but I'm saying in the context of this little rant, it doesn't really matter whether they make a difference or not. I want them to. I'd like them to. But if they don't, at least it exercised some demons for me. It's very cathartic for me to do that.
Yeah, and I think it's important to start that conversation. There's been this kind of, especially me living in California now, there's this ongoing conversation with, West Coast photography, and it's like, how can you contribute anything else to this style that's been beat with a dead horse? But what you're doing is you're starting that conversation using imagery that I think is really, it's a beautiful way to enter into the conversation. So you're taking that idea of making this beautiful image, yet pulling someone into the conversation and allowing them to realize it's much deeper than that.
Yeah.
And just in the matter of, or just in the fact of starting that conversation is so important, because you really don't know when you're not standing next to a photograph who it's going to affect and how it's going to affect them.
True.
And,
So true. So
yeah.
true. And Catherine, did I ever? I'm sure I've told you this because we've spoken a lot, and I'm sure I've said this before. But it just came to mind as you were saying that about the leading in part of having, think about this concept. We live in a world where how many billions of images are made every day or snapped every day, how uploaded, published. I mean, literally, when you upload something, you're publishing it. I mean, that's the truth, right? Mm-hmm. So how many images are published every day? I heard Jeff Curto throw out some crazy number, like 500 million images a day are uploaded to the internet. That means the internet, meaning FTP, email, web, Facebook, all those things combined, right? It's not just the web, it's everything, like wherever, a repository in the cloud, wherever it might go. 500 million, I think you said, a day. So think about that number. It's almost unfathomable. We can't even get our head around it. You think about that number, and then you think about, let's see. I remember Chuck Close saying photography is the most difficult medium in which one can define or have some unique style or stand out, is basically what he was saying, right? Yeah. And that was many, many years ago. You imagine what it'd say today. So now I'm sitting here thinking 500 million of photographs pushed out, photography is the most. So what are you going to do? Well, I took that concept that Catherine was talking about and many, many years ago, and I said, look, I can make these photographs, and I can make, and this is when I was working on working in portraiture work, I can make portraits with this process that will aesthetically grab the viewer, like just demand that they look at it, and it works. And I thought, wow, why does that work so well? And I figured out why it does. And this is probably what I've said to you before, Catherine, or told you before, but why it works, why I think it works, is the name I use is temporal confusion, meaning time gets messed up. Okay, I see this young man with a hawk and trowel, and he's got round glasses and big hoop earrings. I know the image is old, but he's a guy, and he's got earrings, and I'm confused about what's going on here. Is it old? Is it new? I use that to trick him, to get him in. And I do. I have. Not so much anymore because everybody sees him now. But I've used that. So I need to find ways to like, if you don't want to hear me talk, you can just click out of here, right? I need to find ways for you to be engaged and interested in what I'm saying, or anybody in this panel, anybody that's up on the main screen. They need to find ways to engage their audience. We're no different in Wet Collodion trying to engage our audience. We've got to find a way to say, hey, I've got some kind of interesting or cool that you might want to see or hear or look at over here. How do we do that? How do we do this in an age of 500 million of photographs going up a day, and in an age where, how do we compete? How do we define ourselves as artists or photographers? And I found that this process rewards me or gives me these tools and these ideas to capture, maybe in a gimmicky way, but I think again, I believe I'm compelled to make this work, and I think it's important, and I want people to see it. So I'm going to do everything short of morally or legally or some other way of not crossing that line, but still staying true to the art, true to the concept and ideas, but finding an engaging way to bring the viewer in. That's a challenge for us, guys, straight up. And I'd like to hear what you guys think about those ideas.
I have a question. Can you hear me? I can't hear myself. I'm
sorry. Welcome, Eric.
Hey, I was curious. Hi, Eric from Alabama.
Hi. Oh, you're in Alabama? I'm from Alabama.
Yeah.
Where
are you?
What city?
Well, I'm from
Birmingham.
I'm in California right now, but I was from right outside of Selma, Pleasant Hill.
Okay. Yeah, I know that area. I grew up in Mobile.
Where?
I'm in Birmingham.
Oh, you're in Birmingham. Okay, I have a lot of family in Birmingham. Wow.
That's awesome.
That's great.
So when you showed the image earlier, Quinn, I'm curious as to, other than, obviously I follow you, so I know your story and your interest, but how do you tell your story with these photos? Is it, or the images, do you rely on a lot of text in the presentation?
You know what, Eric? That's a wonderful question that I haven't bridged that. In the past, what I do in my other projects, and I think I've got two ideas on that, and that's a wonderful question. In the past, what I've done is I've taken my statement, just 2 paragraphs, and none of this artsy-fartsy, I feel, lusciously gray stuff. It's authentic, real writing, right? Not trying to bullshit you with art speak, pardon the French. It's authentic. So that's how I present my work. I try to set it up in a way, this is about me. These are ideas and concepts and questions that I've been trying to figure out or work through, and then I let them have the images. And on the images, I'll give you an example for Portraits of Madison Avenue. Typically, I've either named them, kept them anonymous, and kind of objectified the person in the title by throwing that back on the viewer, kind of how we objectify and label everyone. We have a name for everyone that we can put them in a box, and people are much more complicated than putting them in a box and putting a label on them. So, but I do that, so I present them like that. So I challenge them with the tag on the image, but I give them the truth in the statement, and then I challenge them both in the image and the text by the image about who this person is or what they are, or objectifying them in the image, if that makes sense. Now the Ghost Dance project, I think what I'm going to do, I have 2 ideas for that. I may pursue what I've done in the past, do a statement, confront them with the images, and then confront them with the harsh reality of what that image really is. And the second idea is similar, but I'm going to do it in a little different way. Sorry. I'm going to do it in a little different way. I would show set it up, say these are images in the Western United States, blah blah blah, what collodion, blah blah blah. Then have them go through and look at all the images. Maybe I just put the location on it, and then in another place I want them to go read about every just 1 sentence or 2, just like you saw on the Skull Valley, and read how many souls were massacred on that site, what they did with their bodies, how they handled those kinds of situations, and let the impact of the beauty of the images, the beautiful salt or albumin prints, or just they're gorgeous contact prints, so just stunning images printed that way. Let them think, let them be tricked into think they're looking at this beautiful presentation of landscape photographs, and then hit them in the head with a baseball bat and show them the reality of what they just saw. And what I want to do with this is I want to put text. I want to put the everything in context. I want to say our life as we go through living in the Western United States, living in this country alone, we're on stolen ground. We're on stolen land, some of it very sacred. And what I want to do is put that into context. How we don't think about that now, and we just want to relish in the beauty of the Western United States, and believe me, Colorado is gorgeous. It's a beautiful state. And so we just take the pleasure of that, and we never think about the harsh reality of how we're behind that. And I want to do that through the photographs, the viewership, and then reading the text about what they just saw after the fact. I want them to believe that they're consuming these beautiful modern landscapes in this old technique. They're just stunning, and then get hit in the head with the reality of it. I think that would probably be the most impact. And I don't know. It's a good question. I'll figure it out. But thank you for asking.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us, Eric. I appreciate it. Hey, how you doing, buddy? Talk to us. No mic? No, that's okay if you don't have a mic. We can't hear you. That's okay. Well, if you figure that out, you jump in here. We'll chat. When you figure your audio out, I'll pull your image up and we can take a look at it. How about that? Super. Anybody else want to share? Say, hey, welcome, Brett. I can see your icon, but I can't see your image, but welcome. And welcome everybody in the chat. We appreciate it hanging out. Anybody else have anything to say, or you want to join in and get a different vibe going, or different idea, or share some more work? We're open. We're open for business.
I think, Quinn, I wanted to kind of piggyback on what you said, because you were talking about standing out, you know, in the crowd now, and you know, we as photographers are artists of any mean. I think you've got three main things that you're battling. You know, you have your equipment limitations, so whatever you've decided to make imagery with, and then you have the way that you use that, so your eye, or the photographer's eye, so to speak, or the artist's eye, and then you have the viewer, and the way that they react. Those three variables are really kind of at the core of making art, and so much so I love making images with a digital camera, but I think with the advent of digital imagery, imagery's become really homogenized and so easily accessible that, you know, when I was a little kid, having a camera was very expensive, and you know, you could have a camera, but then you're, you know, shooting a roll of film, and like I was saying earlier, I grew up in a really rural area in Alabama, and so getting to the drugstore with the film process was tough. And I think that, you know, the collodion is a really nice way to break away from that. And like you were saying earlier, it makes an arresting image, and I think in part because when, you know, we've all seen old tintypes, but when you see a new one, you have that reference of knowing this before, but then seeing contemporary images, and you know, that within itself is an attention grabber. But we as collodion image makers need to really set ourselves apart so that the images aren't just a novelty, but they're, you know, rich in content and rich in meaning, or you know, that they're able to grab someone other than just being a visual anomaly.
That's so true, and that's what I meant about I try not to cross that line so much, because I know, you know, and I'm the first one, you know, where's the bitching line? I get in that queue right away when I bitch about people like being process dominant rather than content dominant. The process, there's this weird balance that you gotta walk, that balance of saying, how much of the process do I talk and how much of the content do I talk? How do I balance that? So I totally hear you.
Yeah, I think, you know, I was talking to a group of people. I did a demonstration in my photo history class the other day, and I was talking to them, and they were really interested in the process. We've been learning about it, you know, in the context of the history of photography, but I showed contemporary work, and they were really shocked to see that people were using this process today, and they asked, you know, how many people are doing it? And I said, you know, a lot of people are doing it, but there aren't that many people that are doing it successfully.
There you go.
And I think there's a distinction between that. So it's something that's become really, with the internet, it's become really accessible, the information on how to do it. But people that are really doing it successfully, it's a small group of people, and I'm so glad that we're able to get together and talk, because it's so nice to see other imagery, and to know that people are thinking along the same lines and thinking about the process in the same way as not just a novelty process, but something that's a little bit deeper than that.
Yeah, and how do you, that is a very good point. How do you think we, as a community, as a group, because really, let's face it, we're all equal. There's no one here better than anyone else. There's none of this kind of hierarchy thing. We're just all doing our thing. Some have these talents, some have those talents. We're just doing our thing. And so how do we overcome, or what are some ideas, how we overcome this idea of the process being dominant rather than the content being dominant? Where is that line crossed to say, like, okay, I'll give you a quick example, and I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but you walk into a black and white show, for instance, and you don't go up and you don't say, wow, are these 35mm Kodak Tri-X film and Ilford paper they're printed on? Nobody ever says that. So I'm really confused. What kind of lens did you use a Fujinon 360 f5.6 on that? You know, nobody ever says that. So I'm like, or how about this one? Who loves Old Man and the Sea by our old friend the Ernest Hemingway, right? I do too, by the way. Nobody ever asks Old Man and the Sea, 1953 Pulitzer Prize. No one ever asks what kind of typewriter did Ernest Hemingway use. Nobody ever asks this question. So how do we overcome those things?
Well, I think photography innately appeals to, and it's one of the reasons why I like it, is because it appeals to people and their technical sensibility, and then it appeals to an artistic sensibility, and almost any genre of photography does that, and finding that balance is really tough. So I agree with you. I don't know, because there are so many people that are just interested in the technical aspects of it.
But if you only take those merits and say, look at this. I'm an artist. I'm a photographer, and look at what I'm doing, and I work in this old process. And tell us about your images. My images, whatever. Look at this. This is a 1862 Hermitage, and look at this collodion over here. It's got 2 bromides in it. And look at this. I mean, there's so many people wrapped up in the process. And look, I'm on the other side. I've got to teach this. I've got to evangelize. I want to evangelize it. And how do you walk that line where you say, I can't take talking about the process out of my work. It is relevant. It informs my work. It's important to the work. So how do you balance that?
I think one of the ways that you do it is by being a part of that show that you were a part of, and when you were describing it earlier, and listening to the people talk about the way they were reacting to the images.
It was incredible.
Yeah, I heard Jerry Uelsman speak one time, and he said the best compliment you can get is for somebody to say they responded to the image first before they ask you how you did it, and I think that's so important. And having more venues to show work like that, and have the opportunity for people to respond in that way, other than in a novelty situation, I think is key.
I have a thought on. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that collodion photography seems to be so enraptured in portraiture, which it produces amazing portraits. But I think because that aesthetic is so strong, and the content is maybe not as complex. I mean, you look at the depth of the eyes, the clarity. There's things that immediately jump out and say, the technique is, I think, it overrides a lot of times of the subject matter. But I think as you start to see more wet plate photography that has more complex themes, these kind of juxtapositions that I think that you're doing, Quinn, I guess this might be a theoretical aside, but I think there's very strong strand right now in the past 50 years of kind of understanding history through a sort of Foucauldian lens of rupture, looking at, and I think this photography really coincides with that. You asked last show, why wet plate? Why do you choose that? And I think one of the reasons is because it allows you to play in this space of rupture and this sort of almost anachronistic, or you're able to juxtapose things that would seem dissimilar, and I think that is what art does. It provokes a sort of confusion, and I think for me, I think wet plate will probably be less concerned, or people, looking at it will be less concerned with technique when there's more content than, say, a wall of portraits.
Very well said, Eric. You're a brother from another mother. Very well said. There's a whole thing going on where you have, just as he said, I think, and people say, well, you bitch about this all the time, Quinn. Why don't you stop teaching people then? But that's not the point, though, because if I stop teaching people, then that diamond in the 100 people that I taught this year, that diamond, if I don't teach the 100 people, I might miss that 1 or 2 people that are really going to do what Eric just said very well, articulated very well. That they're going to produce work that transcends the 3 dead pumpkins and the doorknob, and it's made in collodion, so it's a big deal, right? I mean, you can photograph anything in this process. He's so right. Eric nailed it. You can, no doubt, the aesthetic is so strong, and I admit I used it. I've used it in the past to grab people, because I think my message is more important. But I've used that strength of the aesthetic to grab people in to see my work, because when you have a show, you want, the galleries want people to come to the gallery, the publishers want people to buy the books or look at the images. So there's a certain obligation there too from that standpoint. But at the same time, I think over time, those 1 or 2 people out of the 100 that I teach every year, or 200 or 400, whatever it might be, are really important people, because a lot of them are sitting in this panel right now, and those are the people that are going to be the people making the important work. Look, history's going to show this. Believe me, we're in a bubble right now, and we can't see what's going on. But in the future, we're going to look back and we're going to see what's transpired here, and we're on the precipice of a change, not only in photography but in wet collodion as well. And Eric just touched on something that's going to transpire. It's going to come to a point where the medium's going to not necessarily completely fade away, but become less important with the more powerful and the more meaningful and deeply connected imagery. And the pumpkins and doorknobs and the technical photographs and, oh, I got this lens and I tried it in my backyard, here it is, all that stuff will go away.
Yeah, that's why I think it was so interesting seeing Christine's images, because they're so different. And then even the first image that we saw with the self-portrait with the cat, those are, both of those examples are so, they're touching, and there's some whimsy, and there's something different about them that touched on what Eric said about, really sort of using it as a, it's a way to bring somebody into the image, but then also, now that you're here, let's talk about the meaning behind this. For
sure, absolutely. And that was Jan's self-portrait. He's in the Czech
Republic.
Oh, Jan, okay. Yeah. For sure, Catherine. I think the end result of all this will be the more people that work, that are seriously dedicated, the better content we're going to have, and all that other stuff will kind of sink to the bottom, and the cream will rise to the top. Those that work hard, that stay in. I'm a firm believer. Now that we have this technology, there's no reason we can't jump online once a month and have a community like this and talk and share work and share ideas and get to know one another, and not be these anonymous weirdos online that everybody thinks. I've heard some of the most bizarre things about people online, and the people aren't anything like that. It's just the way they write and the way they speak, in written form is much different. So I love coming together like this, and I think this is going to be a huge factor in making these things and these movements move forward. And you all are involved in that, and that's up to us to do that or not. And I say we should, and I say we should come together. We should have camaraderie and friendship and professionalism, and be help one another with work and ideas. I know I'm going to come in here a month or two at a time and have throw some things out as I get back going on this project and get producing more work, and I want to use that as a resource, and I want to know what other people working in this process and working on similar ideas, I want to know where my work is going, and the best way to do that is to show it to your peers. Catherine mentioned the West Coast photographers, the whole Weston thing, and even before that, and all those kinds of movements. This could be formalized as something like that too, and those movements weren't just for history; they were for the artists at the time trying to improve their work and connect.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think this is wonderful. You're right. I mean, there's so much anonymity on the internet, and as a result, I don't have a Facebook page, and I'm not don't have a very big web presence because of that kind of coldness that you get, or it's just kind of strange, but somehow this is a lot different, and it's so nice. It's nice to make connections with Christine and Eric and Jan and anybody out there. And Doug had to leave right at the beginning to go to work this morning. He was really upset.
We do this every month, and you're right, Christine or Catherine. Nobody's gonna make a comment to you in this forum like they would anonymously on a Facebook page or a YouTube comment or something like that. It's not gonna happen.
You can also, it's hard to read context when you read something, intonation and things like that, and it's much nicer to be able to have that conversation. And I think it's good to get feedback. It's something that I struggle with because with the classes that I teach, there's a online component to them, and it's usually in the form of putting a picture up and having feedback. And it's hard to have people pull things out of folks that's really meaningful, and it's hard to find ways to engage people online and that sort of thing. So I think what I did the other day was have my students watch a movie instead of critiquing each other's work, and that was not, it was just a nice break.
Yeah.
And I think here, doing something like this is equally as important because you're getting so much more of a context of what someone's saying, and that feedback can be really meaningful. I wish I had something digitized so I could get some feedback.
No, and I think as we go on, we can do whatever we want in these things. If we want to show work here and there, and then talk philosophy, and then talk about our pets, or talk about what flavor ice cream we like the best. I think everything should be open because life is life, right? It's not just wet collodion photography. There's a lot more to life. Although wet collodion photography is the choice in this particular group that we've decided best suits our needs to express ourselves. That's really what we're going for. So I agree, and I hope we can continue these.
I would love to.
What's that, Catherine?
Oh, I just said I would love to.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, absolutely. Next time, for sure. Does anyone have? Do you want to throw some imagery up or something, or you want to share something? The floor is open.
Yeah, Quinn, can you hear me?
Oh, wonderful! Yes.
All right,
finally. Here's my brother from the UK here, over in the UK, up late, hanging out with us, just like Jan. And introduce yourself, please.
Yes, my name is Ismail. I've been doing wet plate for the past few years, and I guess it's pretty much like a cliche story where everyone just misses out using the darkroom. As for me, I mean, I miss hearing the sound of water. It's just being in the dark and just hearing the water right behind you, running, cleaning up your prints. And it's been missing for quite a while since we start using digital cameras. So this is where, well, it's a long story on how I began with collodion. But long story short, I got myself rekindled back to work with my own hands. As for today, like the works that I would like to share it's something that I've done today. Unfortunately, it broke while I was drying it under the flame.
And let me share that for you right now too, because I know I've got it over here, right behind this screen. I'm going to pull it up, and you can talk about it. Give me 2 seconds here. My little trackpad and my little Apple MacBook is. There we go. And I'm going to pull up Ismail's image here, which is right here. And actually, you know what? I'll download that, and I'll pull it up full screen so we don't have that noise around it. And here we go. And sorry, guys, 1 second.
I got distracted with the cat.
This is Lisa.
Hi, Lisa.
This is Lisa. She was on my plate.
Oh, what a doll!
One eye. She has one eye is yellow, and the right eye has blue color. She's very nice.
I thought I saw something in the image like that. You're right. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, she's a little bit. Yeah. Go, Lisa, go. Sorry, but I just want to show you our main model from my plate.
There it is. I think I see something there.
Okay. Let's see. Can I go full screen on this view? Okay, Ismail, it's all you, brother.
Okay. It's an image of my wife, which she's a painter, And well, it's an interesting part because she has this particular space, like a mini studio in the home, which none of us are allowed to to even cross over. It's her own sacred space.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, like the interesting part is the only part of the house which I never explored, and even some sort of visual knowledge what's right behind there. I mean, she would never show what she's painting on, or even like telling me the story, like what kind of subject matter that she's doing.
Right. So the image is reflecting all of her kind of her not secretive nature, but low-key nature. So the image is reflecting that for sure.
Yeah, and well, it's where like she spent many hours in the day and just isolate herself and just, I guess it's pretty much her own space. And I guess it's something like more like a writer's habit where they don't tell the story of what they're writing until it's finished or until it's done.
Very good point. Yeah.
Yeah, and I took the chance to make an image out of the space that she's in, but nonetheless, I couldn't intrude using like strong light. As you know, like using wet plate collodion, it has a great thirst for strong light. So what I have to do is just slowly encroach, with her kind permission nonetheless, doing light painting, which surprisingly it's quite efficient using what we say LED UV lights, which I just painted over like for a good like 3 or 4 minutes, just to get all that all the details within what I need of the entire scene.
Yeah, that's right. So you used LED light to illuminate.
Yeah,
was it a flashlight?
It's pretty much small, like this fella right here. Oops, sorry. It's tiny little thing.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Yeah, it's not intrusive. It's quite almost invisible. It doesn't shine too brightly, but it's good enough to do the work.
How about this? Ismail.
Yep, that's the one.
I paint collodion photographs with this.
That's
for people, if you want a little highlight. My forehead isn't quite bright enough in photographs, so I like to paint my forehead. No, this works really well. They're really inexpensive. Interesting. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Ismail.
No, it's fine. Well, it's the interesting part about painting with light is you could pick and choose the subject within the scene. The important part, in this particular image, is the palette that she has, is the paint brushes on the side, the rear of the canvas itself, which is something I see every single day. So which reminds me, like, the boundary is still there, and no, you're still not allowed to be in here. So,
and also too, I see movement in her face. Like there's motion, there's actual motion in it. So you know she's active.
She's pretty much stationary. I mean, she moves quite slowly. I mean, like it's something like I guess it's a movement which calms everybody down. I mean, I've worked in prison before. I worked in psychiatry before. People move and bob their head
like
back and forth just to calm themselves.
Yeah, you know my people do this while they're reading the Torah, right? So this motion is a motion of meditation and a motion of, like, you know, reverence and introspective. So I get that, yeah. And then talk about, I'm so curious to hear about how the plate is broken and what you said about her isolation and that broken plate, how she's separating off of that is really, that, you know, broken images work sometimes, and maybe fill us in on that. Tell us about that one.
Well, I got too overexcited. Like I start seeing something. This is the image I want, and suddenly, like, over the flame. I think I got it here. Over the flame.
Oh, there you go.
It's like, hell no.
Yeah, it got too hot over the flame. It was probably cool where you were doing it.
Quite true. And like
almost every workshop I do in the winter time, we always have one plate explosion.
But luckily, it's not shattered into a million pieces. But but give and take. I don't know. I mean, like when I showed that to my wife, and she responded, "Probably it's meant to be." Probably that's the image that's meant to be broken, or in that sense. So I say, that's not a good excuse then.
Yeah.
Probably give and take. I'll try to revisit the image again, but probably it's not going to be the same or.
Yeah, I like the story, the context of it. I like how you've isolated her by painting those objects that you see every day, and the mysterious nature of her that you've described, and then the breaking off and the isolating, the physical manifestation of something separating on that image is very interesting to me. The context of it is crucial, and I think I'd like to see you do more portraits of her, actually.
Yeah, it's not sure it's going to be a series, but it's I suppose when it makes sense. I mean, it's like a day-to-day event between my engagement.
She is your wife, and she's an artist, and she has something interesting to say, and you're in. I mean, that for me, work that's close to you is work that's most important. I don't know if it was Sally Mann or maybe Catherine or somebody more knowledgeable than me would know. Somebody said you don't have to go anywhere. I think it was Sally Mann. You don't have to go anywhere to make photographs. Your photographs are right there, right? I mean, I don't have to go to China and I run off to China. I didn't go to China to make photographs. I'm just trying to give you an example. You can make photographs. I think what Christine just showed. I think it's really there's some depth there that I should explore myself, but haven't yet. Anybody else have anything for Ismail on that one?
I was going to comment on the crack, and I think his wife took the words right out of my mouth because it reminded me of that story of Marcel Duchamp when he sent that beautifully large painting, The Bride Stripped Bare by Her Bachelors, of the chocolate grinders, and then they showed up at the gallery, and the gallerist called and said, "Oh my goodness, Mr. Duchamp, your painting is shattered," and he said, "That's perfect." So I was also going to comment too that what I really loved about that image is that beautiful light where you look like you're looking down a tunnel, but your wife almost looks like Mary in the picture because of the head, what she has on her head, and perhaps maybe the movement. So it has a very spiritual feel to it, which I think is really beautiful. For sure.
Don't you guys think too? Collodion imbues a sense of spirit. I know Christine touched on this. And I've definitely talked about it, and I think everyone, and I know you have, Catherine and Doug both. I think everyone talks near it, and some talk right about it, but we're all kind of connected into that kind of thing, right? I mean, the work is the process kind of makes you feel that way, and then the end result of course always transforms. I put. Can I go grab a catalog real quick, guys? I'll be right back. I hate to walk away, but I didn't have them down here. I'll be right back. I want to show you something.
So Eric, I wanted to ask you. Can you hear me, Eric?
Yes.
Hey, since you're in Alabama, so did you go to the University of Alabama, or?
Yeah.
You did.
But I'm very new to photography. I've only been doing collodion for maybe 8 or 9 months.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I studied philosophy and sociology.
Oh, okay. I studied photography at the University of Alabama for my undergrad degree, and I thought, oh, maybe we had some of the same teachers.
No, yeah, this was kind of a new. For me, I felt like I needed something a little more tactile than what I was doing before with the writing, and so for whatever reason I gravitated toward this, and it's been a nice balance. I also am a blacksmith, so I work with steel as well.
Wow. Well, I'm going to be in Alabama in the summer. I'll have to look you up. I'll be visiting some family.
Yes, and I've got a little website up that I started putting up, so you can contact me through that as well.
I'll do that.
So this was the card they sent out for the show. I don't know if anybody ever received that, but I need to get them to send you guys this. Here's the catalog, and I wanted to show you. I'll show you Catherine and Doug's image here too.
Are they going to send us the catalog, Quinn?
I'm gonna get them to for sure, because I'm surprised they didn't. I'm really kind of blown away they didn't do that. So it's a fold out like this, and here's Catherine and Doug.
Wow.
And on the other,
nice.
other side, Kevin. And so we go through here. I wanted to show, so there's Canada, Slovenia, California, Spain, and Russia here. Oh, is Tony still in? Where's Tony? Is Tony still in the chat? Tony's image, a beautiful portrait of his daughter.
Wow.
He was just in the chat, in the show here. And then I wanted to show you guys these images here. Can you see these? This triptych? It's very like, Jesus, the creation, and Mary. And when you said that about Ismail's wife, I put this triptych in the show. I thought, you know, a lot of this imagery, including yours, Catherine, a lot of this imagery is very spiritual to me. I think we naturally gravitate toward that kind of. Christopher, right, in Ithaca, New York, his work is very, very spiritual and very, like, you know, connected that way. Dylan Burr here in Denver, he just did the Neighbors Project, the homeless people. Alan Barnes, some of you know Alan. So there's a bunch. We had really good, turnout here. Brian Hyatt, Joseph Gamble, and here's Barbara's. I hope Barbara's still in here. I was just blown away by this photograph. Here's Barbara's. That Holga image is really nice. So yeah, there's a lot of good stuff happening there, and I just thought, oh, Harry Taylor's, these are good too. Talk about spiritual, or talk about, I don't know, if you watch American Horror Story, you can kind of see the resemblance there, the two-headed lady. But really good stuff. I'll make sure you guys that were in the show get a catalog. But what do you guys think about that? That spiritual kind. Oh, you know what? That was tiny. Sorry, guys. Let me do that again. I didn't even realize this. Sorry. God, Quinn. Where's Doug and Catherine out here? Here we go. Let's try that again. Oh my God! Now you can kind of see him.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit better, but the light is kind of terrible here. Is it better that way? But anyway,
the interesting thing about that, Quinn, is that when the photograph that was scratched into it, when we did that, our silver went rotten, and we fogged a whole bunch of plates, and then I was so upset. And then it was nice looking at the plates a couple days later and thinking, oh, I kind of like this. This is sort of, I love these kind of weird mistakes.
Well, you're referring to this here at the bottom?
Yeah, at the bottom, yeah.
Yeah, no, really nice. A lot like what Christine was talking about, adding smoke or whatever. This looks like you actually have added some effect there, you know, in the image, not post-plate, but actually in the plot.
Yeah, I was in it.
Yeah, awesome. Oh, and and this one that I was going to show you of the more, when you said spiritual, here, you can see that a little bit better now. Jesus, God, and Mary, I think, something like this, right? Jesus over here, the creation, and then Mary at the end, kind of thing. And that's I can say Katya Shtina from Kirov, Russia. I hope I'm not butchering you if you watch this video anytime and God, that guy can't even say my name. I know, I'm sorry, I'm terrible at that. But so that great show again, talking about work and the variants there. There was a gentleman here, Brett Henriksen, Brett Henriksen, Pawtucket, Rhode Island.
Oh, wow. This
is a silver gelatin print, obviously from a bright ambrotype. It reminded me of Jerry Spagnoli's daguerreotype images of the hands.
Yeah, that's gorgeous.
Very silvery, very, yeah. Brian Hyatt, I'm not sure how you say his name. This is such a terrible, I do him injustice showing him on paper through a video camera. The gallery was just so gorgeous. It's just so beautiful. Hey, Rick Grybos, I want to shout you out here. Welcome. Hey, cool. How you doing, man? I got to unmute you. You want to say something?
I'm doing good, Quinn. I'm just here kind of listening to all you guys are talking about.
Great, cool. Welcome. I'm glad you showed up. Welcome aboard.
Yeah, and then modifying some pictures I took from work. So
Nice. Doing something constructive all at the same time. Cool. Yeah. So Rick's my neighbor. He doesn't live far from here, actually. He's like over, like 4 houses over or something like that. So it's kind of funny to see him in video. So onward and upward. Where do you guys want to go? You want to tell Brett? Why don't you chime in? Say hi, Brett. Brett's a good guy here. Unmute yourself, buddy.
All right, I think I figured it out.
There you go.
Yep, you can hear me? Okay. I guess the one thing I was going to say when we were talking about the light painting and influences, if anybody, there's a book out there, it's called Shooting Blind, and it's by the Seeing with Photography Collective out of New York City, and it's a group of visually impaired artists who are doing photography, and originally they're using the Type 55 Polaroid and painting with mini Maglites. And I did a workshop with them, and it was just one of the best things I've ever done. And then I visited them in New York, and one of the things they had me do when I worked with them then was they had their photos from the week before, and I had to describe the image to them. And they couldn't see the image, but they created the image. So they got to see it through my interpretation of it, and that was one of the good things. But the book's so good. I've loaned out 2 copies, both which were stolen from me. So
wow. Can you put a link up in the chat for the book?
It's out of publication, but I know like on Amazon.
Oh. Okay.
You can find used copies of it. It's called Shooting Blind.
Shooting Blind. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen the documentary on HBO, The Blind Photographers?
No.
Yeah, I'll put a link up for that. I found Shooting Blind, photographs by the visually impaired, hardcover, June of 2005. I'm going to throw this up in the chat. Boom, there's that link for that. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to grab this HBO film that everyone here should see. I made fun of it. Somebody said, "Oh, you should watch that HBO special. There's blind photographers." I said, "Blind photographers?" I kind of laughed, and it blew my mind. It blew my mind. Has anyone seen that show?
No.
Okay. It's called Dark Light, The Art of Blind Photographers. And I'm going to put this link up right here. It's amazing. There's a comment in there that I'll never forget. There it is. It's in the chat if you want the link. Oh, it's right underneath the other one. Here, let me say blind photogs. There's a quote in that, Brett, that you probably find fascinating. The guy says, "Hey, welcome, Dale. You made it, buddy."
Hey, finally figured it out, man.
Good. The 3rd time, eh? That's good. Eh?
Actually, I think it's probably the 6th or 7th.
Welcome. Dale's in Nova Scotia, Canada. But in the HBO film, the quote or the documentary, the guy says, and these are legally blind. Some of them are completely blind. Most of them are completely blind. I think there's 3 or 4 of them in the documentary. But the guy says, every once in a while, I slip an image, and think about this metaphor, thinking about the blind side and the sighted side. Every once in a while, I slip under the door from the blind side to the sighted world something that I don't know. I'll paraphrase. He says something to the effect of what being blind looks like. Ironically enough, and the way he puts it, you'll have to watch the film. But the way he puts it is so powerful. It's like you do, and Brett, you can say yay or nay to this, or correct me, whatever. You do get a completely different kind of idea about art and photography being sighted versus being blind. What did they say about that kind of stuff, Brett?
Yeah, when I was trying to describe the image to them, at first I was trying to describe how it looked, but they were more interested in how it felt.
Yes,
So,
that's the idea of this quote. Right. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And when did you do this? When did you do all this?
you know, they came out to. I'm from Omaha, and I went to Metro Community College for photo, and we started a photo club, and we bring in artists, and so that was probably close to 10 years ago when I first did it, and then I went out to New York. It's probably been about 5 years ago.
Okay.
And I think they met on Tuesdays, and so I planned it so I could go there. And
wow.
Yeah, you know, a lot of them are completely blind, but the one guy, he was in art school when his vision started going, and I believe he had said if he held like a drinking straw about a foot out in front of you, and if you could look down the middle, that's what his field of sight was.
Wow. Yeah, and I've often heard the people that go blind, and maybe there's a wealth of knowledge here. Maybe someone's have friends or relatives or people they know experience this. But this closing tunnel as you're going blind, it would horrify me. I've often said that I'd probably take my life if I lost my vision. I wouldn't know what to do. What would I do? I mean, I would be over. I would be over. So that's a great documentary. That's great insight, Brett. I think Catherine was talking earlier about influence, and I think we need to inform ourselves with all kinds of, and it doesn't even really need to be photography stuff, but I mean it's nice when it is. But these kinds of, this knowledge that, if you ever have a feeling of you can't get enough of this, like, oh, I want to see every documentary, I want to find every public, like this constant feeling and craving of consuming as much as you can, that's when you know you're on fire. That's when you know you've got to do something. And I find myself like that, and it just informs my work so much. It makes me a better artist. It makes me a better person. It makes me a better human being, really. You know, I mean, I think that's what art does for us in a lot of ways. Is it makes us better people. It makes us more present to other people or places or things or ideas. I think my wife Jeannie often uses this term, you know, zombified. There's so many people that seem zombified, you know, and it's so true. Like, I don't understand, you know, people seem to be shut off and tuned out, and like, I don't know, it's weird to me. So I can't get enough of it. So there's a cup. Thanks for that link or the info, Brett. And I put the link up for the book Shooting Blind and the documentary, HBO documentary, on the chat. So if anybody's interested in that, I don't think you can get to it after it posts. So after we shut the Hangout down, so get it now or Google it or write it down or something.
Can I jump in here, Quinn?
Please.
Yeah, it's Dale here. I listened with great interest when we were talking about light painting and some of the various flashlights we were using to do that. I kind of chuckled because, being a man, of course, size does matter, and I wanted to bring your attention.
What a metaphor! Wow, that is very phallic, Dale. This is
what our Mounties up here in Canada would call a persuader.
Oh.
First they blind you, and then they bump you on the head. It runs on 6 D-cell batteries. About 20 years ago, I started light painting because I couldn't afford a hose master. I just heard someone say that. Yeah. And what I discovered is, particularly with these lights at that time, they used tungsten lights, and they created this nice warm yellow gel. Having said that, from that point, what I did is I carried on and created these modifiers. And I'm hoping to get the opportunity to try this with wet plate, because I know it will work. I know from experience it will work, and I think I wanted to share this with the group. If you go to, just use a little bit of creativity, go to a safety store, and this is simply, you can't really see it, but it's the red cone that traffic directors will use. It fits perfectly on the face of that mag light. And you can get, this is a 6-cell mag light, but you can get them 4-cell and 2-cell as well. But it fits perfectly. So now instead of having a big round end, you have a cone. And of course, the wet plate with the long exposures, to use this stuff, you simply turn off the lights in your blackened studio, wherever you happen to be, and you can light the face of an eyeball, for example, or just a quarter in a still life. Another thing, and I skipped out for a second, I wanted to show it, and I can't find it. It's been so long that I used it. You can get a plumbing fitting, and I suspect it's 1.5 inches the diameter on this one. But you put a plumbing fitting over that, and then if you go to a science store where they have microscopes and whatnot, you can get fused fiber optics cables.
Yes, yeah.
Those fused fiber optic cables are about 12, 18, 24 inches long. Not cheap, but the thing is, you can now use that plumbing fitting to cover the cap on the flashlight, drill a hole in it. That fused fiber optic cable will fit right in that right hole because you've drilled it the right size. And now you can go down and light paint things so small as petals on a flower, for example. So just where I'm headed with that is, I know, because I'm new in wet plate, I haven't tried this, but I know intuitively and intrinsically it will work without question. So I'm hoping some of these folks can take that idea and run with it, and I'd love to see what comes out of it.
Excellent, Dale. You're absolutely right. I feel very inferior. You're right.
Oh, you should, man. You should. I can't even get back far enough to get this all in.
The only thing
I have a smaller one if you are feeling insecure.
Yeah. The only thing you'll want to do is change that from tungsten to UV.
Exactly.
That's the only thing. And I know if you go to blacklight.com, you can get a 4-cell mag light, black light, just like this, and it'll be bigger and better than this. But these are great, and it will work, Dale. In fact, do you want to see a photograph? 45 seconds. We cut the lights out. This was during a workshop. In fact, Brett, you were here at this workshop, I believe. Let's see if you were. Brett's been to a couple of workshops here in Denver, which I'm happy to have him here. He's a great guy. Let's see if we can pull this image up, and I think we can.
While you're looking for that, LED, the craziest thing I did light painting was had a 1 million candle power spotlight that you normally would plug into the AC adapter on your car or your cigarette lighter in your car, and I had it wired to a 12-volt car battery that I had on a backpack that I would carry around, and I could go traipsing off in the woods, not light whole trees with that thing. Except I discovered that down in Smoky Mountains in Tennessee, the Smoky Mountain National Park, apparently they weren't too receptive to that, even though I'm Canadian. They weren't too receptive. Apparently I was harassing wildlife, and they allowed that I was getting ready to jacklight or shoot some deer or some such thing. And it got rather testy. And
Gotcha, yeah.
You have to be careful, use a little bit of discretion.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, the UV light, it works phenomenal, and I just need to find this image real quick, and I will show you one. The student, anybody know the photographer Mark Tucker? He was the student that did this, and he inquired right off the bat, saying, how do I paint with light? I want to paint with light. So a lot of these old boys, let me see, I can just pull it up here like this. Go to share, boom. And this, he photographed my intern at the time named Kylie. And that was painted with light for 45 seconds.
Yep.
There's another one too. I was trying to find. Maybe he has it in here. Wait, is that? Let's see here. Wet plate. Doesn't look like he has it in here.
Is he the guy that did the double exposure with the roses that he used for the silhouette?
Yeah, that's him.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know him?
No, but I've seen that image.
Is that Eric?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's Mark. He's quite a well-known photojournalist. I didn't know it at the time. You know, a lot of these people come to my workshops, and I really don't know a whole lot on their background or how, you know, the genre they're working in. But Mark's very well known for his photojournalism work, and he's really super good. He's an intense photographer, and he does a lot of good stuff. He kind of gave up wet collodion, though. It was like a little, I don't know. We'd have to ask him why he gave it up, really. But I think it was just a little much for him. I think he felt the pressure of the digital stuff, and he couldn't quite cut it. I can't find that other painting one, but it works well, guys. It works really well.
So Quinn, I have to jet out. I just wanted to tell you thank you so much.
This is really exciting.
Thanks so much for coming and hanging out and sharing. I hope to see you next time. Give Doug our best. Bye-bye.
It was nice to meet everybody. I hope you guys have a nice weekend.
You too, Catherine. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
So, yeah, painting with light, other special effects that are kind of mechanical, not post-production, but during the image making. Anything really you can do with large format film, for relatively speaking, for the most part, you can do with collodion, and sometimes even better. And I think painting with light is one of those things that you can actually even do better. But the UV lights work great, and you can do some really interesting things, especially with still life. And the first plate you make, you know, like I usually just use modeling lights or some low light. Doesn't really matter. You can do it, you know, whenever. And just turn the lights down, take your flashlight, paint up just a little bit in one area, see what it does for how much time. And then the second plate, you're off and going, and you just fine-tune it from there. And you've got it tuned in, and they work really great. And you, like Dale says, you'll have you have a lot of control over that. If you're looking, people complain a lot about collodion. Oh, it doesn't pick this up, and it didn't pick that up, and it doesn't see this. You've got to think in those terms, and then you've got to help it out. If you want something, it goes for the big obvious stuff, but if you want that subtle stuff, you got to make that happen on your own. And black light is a good way to do that. That's the most powerful way, I think.
The other thing I like about it, Quinn, is well, first of all, it's not new. I love these new magazine articles coming out teaching about light painting and how they've discovered this brand new technique. Good God, it's older than all of us on here, you know. Or I shouldn't be saying that. I shouldn't be saying that, Quinn. You have a lot of gray hair. Oh, I should be careful.
I do.
But anyway, no, light painting's been around. My goodness, my mentor taught me light painting with his Linhof. He was shooting it back in the 50s, for heaven's sake. So I don't believe all this new stuff about light painting. But the thing I like about it, though, is it becomes it makes your work very, very personal. You can't duplicate it just like wet plate. It becomes so unique. And that's why I'm looking forward to trying it, because it elevates that uniqueness one level further. And it also gives that, when you get, it's a very intuitive, you have to get a sense of feel for how to do it. I can do it on film. It's a very intuitive process. You've got to get a sense of feel, but when you nail it and you know you've nailed it, it creates that wow factor, and it's amazing how many people say, how'd you do that?
You bring up a good point, Dale, about having.
That's why they then have to take my workshop and pay me.
You bring up a good point about it. Adding already, you're talking about a very unique image being a one-off positive, and wet collodion being a positive image if that's what you're doing. I'd say even prints are unique because each negative is going to be different anyway. But that's beside the point. Making positive plates with a black light. I mean, think about the depth of uniqueness we're traveling down there on from the technical standpoint, like we were just talking about a minute ago. That we said where does we cross the line? Well, we'll talk technical, but think about how unique the ambrotype is, or tintype, and then adding that extra element, like Dale says, painting a little bit and customizing that image just right. Would never be able to duplicate that, you know, and that's an interesting point. I didn't think about that actually.
What I found, and I'm suspecting it will happen in wet plate as well. But when I started working in light painting 22, 23 years ago, whatever it was, what it allowed me to do. Well, we were still shooting film then, but in the E6 world, what it allowed me to do was create a very personal vision or style, and an E6 chrome shot was a chrome shot was a chrome shot, but now you introduce this and now made it your own that other people couldn't do. It really enhanced your own look and style, and it created the feel that just others couldn't do. Because
Well,
it is
complete control over the light. You know what I mean? Like you're adding light where you want it, when you want it, how much you want it. I mean, that's God. You're playing God, right? You're actually doing. You're the sun.
Oh, yeah.
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 God with a little g, let's say.
Oh, there we go. That's yeah. I'm not my tools aren't that big.
Nor are mine.
Yeah. Anyway, no, I wanted to share that because I thought others would like to give it a try, because you can take those flashlights, put modifiers on them for very inexpensive amounts, and it just creates so much more flexibility, or allows you to provide so much more detail and create that next element into work. So I hope to see some in the future. I'll shut up now.
No, it's great, Dale. I appreciate the contribution. You know, that's the thing, guys. I think think about this game as you're trying to have, say you have a quiver on your back with arrows in it. Each technique or each process is another quiver in your, or another arrow in your quiver, and you want as many arrows as you can in your quiver, right? So all of a sudden you might think, oh, I'll never paint with black light, or I'll never do that. And then, you know, a month down the road or 2 years down the road or something, bam, you have something you actually need that for. Those are great little quivers on the technical end of it. Those are great tips and tricks to have in your quiver for sure. Jan asks, what is important the size of the wet plate? Does it matter to shoot 20 by 20 plates, or what is your favorite plate size, for instance, for landscapes? My favorite size, Jan, is size. Does size matter? I think size does matter in the sense of, in the right context, size matters. So when I did the American West portraits here in Denver, I made a lot of them 16 by 20 inches, right, 30 by 40 centimeters. And the reason I did that is I was playing on the guys. Henry Jackson had a studio here in Denver. O'Sullivan and Gardner and all those boys photographed around here, and they made those great big mammoth 22 inches by 18 inch negatives. So I was playing on that a little bit. That's the reason I got the 30 by 40 camera, was to mimic that format size of the West, doing landscapes, but I'm doing portraits of the people in the contemporary sense. Now the landscape work, and I'm kind of saying this, Jan, on a rebellious note. I'm kind of rebelling. I think I'm going to start going smaller and smaller and smaller. I think I'm going to get down to maybe like gem size, like postage stamp size images eventually. No, honestly though, I work in whole plate, 6.5 inches by 8.5 inches, which is what, basically, 18 by 20, something like that. 18 centimeters, 16 centimeters by 20 centimeters, maybe. And that format for me is perfect because it's large enough for me to handle and manipulate easy. I can span it across my hands. It's this one. I'm sure you all know what whole plate is, but so what I mean by that is I can span it across my hands like this, so I can hold the plate like this with no problem, right? So it's easy for me to manipulate. It's large enough to print and make a beautiful contact print, and it's large enough to view on its own, just as a standalone. So whole plate. Can anyone answer this question? Where did this format size come from? Anybody know? That's the quiz question for this live show. Anybody know where the 6.5 by 8.5 inch format size comes from? No one? All right, I get to share something with you today. That size comes from Mr. Louis Daguerre. He's the guy that made the first practical photograph in daguerreotypy, right? So he asked his cousin, he said, hey, make me a camera that I can put a plate in. He brought the camera over, and guess what size the plate was? That size. And it's always stayed that way. So Louis Daguerre made the first daguerreotype on this format of plate. So that's where it comes from. I've fallen in love with it mostly because it has this great, I think it's a great format for portraiture. That's what I think. And now I'm using it as landscape, and it's big enough to print, like I said, and make a nice contact print, and large enough to see, and easy to handle and manipulate. That's my preference. What are your preferences? You guys want to chime in here and tell us about your preferences?
So, if I may say my opinion, I also like this size, and now I'm starting to work with 24 by 30 centimeters. 1 week ago, I bought a camera 24 by 30 centimeters, and the reason is not to go, not to make large plates to be, I don't know, more popular, because I think that some wet plate photographers are thinking bigger plates makes me more popular, or I will be more famous. If I do, I don't know, 50 centimeters by 50 centimeters, it will be more interesting. I will be more popular. I can sell it for more price, more expensive maybe, could be. But my opinion is it had to be more concentrated, of course, on the content of the image, not on the size. But my decision make bigger plates was to start with bigger negatives. This year I would like to learn album and print and more make these out prints. What I know now, and this is the simple reason to do this size with this size for a longer time. But honestly, I have feeling that let's say younger wet platers would like to make large plates to be, I don't know, famous, if I may say. What is your opinion about these sizes, and do you think that bigger plate can be sold for more money, or what is your opinion about this?
Yeah, that's I know for a fact that bigger plates attract more attention. So the first thing you have is the technical prowess to do the large plates. And Eric just asked a technical question in the chat about changing chemistry for large plates, and it's true. You have to add more solvents and you know, a little more alcohol in the developer and some other things that you need to do to make large plates. So there's some technical prowess involved, which you know, sets people apart, and I guess it does for the most part. Then there's the financial part involved. So doing a plate like this size versus a plate that's you know, 30 by 40 centimeters or 50 by 60 centimeters is going to be exponentially more difficult, and the cost is going to go up, not just triple or quadruple or 8 or 9 times. It seems to run in 10 and 20 times. When it grows exponentially when you get to those sizes. So there's the technical and the cost, and so that kind of leaves a lot of people out of the game of large plates. Just to get the camera and prepare the material and all that stuff is a lot of money. Then, on top of everything else, you've got to say why. Why are you making these large plates? What's the purpose of it? Is it to, like you said, is it to get attention? Is that your way to grab the viewer, like I was talking about earlier when I first started out and I used this aesthetic to grab them? Maybe it's the format size now that you need to grab them with. I don't know. I'm not going to go there anymore. At least I don't think. But in China, I had this debate or this discussion. And the Chinese, if you're watching, or you do watch, this message is for you, the Chinese people. Mr. Lee, Gray, Steven, all those guys, Mr. Wu, Mr. Stone, all you guys, and especially, God, I forgot the kid's name now. There's one guy there that just like he was insistent on, you know, the smallest plate he wants to do is 30 by 40 centimeters, 16 by 20 inches. And the Chinese are going to have a problem, already have a problem with this. They just want to go bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And this is a discussion I had there, was like, you guys need to slow it down. And bigger isn't always better. Bigger doesn't always make it better, you know? It's just not, it doesn't work that way. It needs to have purpose and reason behind it. I mean, if you get attention like that, I guess that's fine, but what you're doing is you're creating that noise again for everyone else around you. So I'm with Sarah Moon. If you guys know who Sarah Moon is in Paris, right, the photographer, I'm with Sarah Moon. Sarah Moon says 4 by 5. That's it, you know, and that's the way she works. Small, intimate photographs. Some of my favorite photographs I showed you last time, that triptych that I had in the show up there. Quarter plate, tiny. Beautiful. Some of my made the viewer get right up in here like this and to look at it, right? Really intimate, really special. You don't stand back 50 or 60 feet to see it. So my views on it, if it's appropriate to use it, absolutely, 1,000%. If you're using it because you can and you get attention with it and the content is meaningless, scrap it. Put the brakes on. Your opinions, guys. What are your opinions?
It's Dale here. I'm just going to jump in quickly. Sorry, Eric, I guess. Quinn, it's from my commercial background, I'm learning I have to forget a lot of that. Would it not be appropriate to select the format based on two pieces of criteria? One is the amount of detail you want to show, and second is the final output requirements.
Right, and in the art, you're right. And in the art world, when you're working on your own, you don't have an art director or somebody editor standing over you. What is the final output for you, and why is that? So if you work, Dale's going to work on a project doing a historical piece. So if you think about your project, your format's going to be maybe based on something historical because of the nature of your work, right? So you'll probably select a format that's more appropriate for that. That's all I'm really saying. If you were doing a project or a historical piece about William Henry Jackson or Timothy O'Sullivan or some of those old boys here in America that did a lot of collodion photography out west here, you might consider a 30 by 40 or 16 by 20 camera. You might consider that. That would be legitimate depending on the context. But if you're talking about your own personal work, and if it's like, you know, intimate and personal, you have to think about like your final output. What is that? What are you basing that criteria on? Not everyone has a project as clean and as simple as what you're thinking about doing, Dale, because you've got everything in place. It's already kind of happened, and you know how to execute that, and you can even get all the formats and everything you want. A lot of people don't have that. They're just kind of out there like me. Why am I basing this on? What am I basing it on? And if somebody asks me, is it based on commerce to sell it? Is it based on historic precedents? Is it based on your personal? It's based on a lot of things, and not commerce, but it's based on a lot of those historical threads and artistic threads, those kinds of things. But and more importantly, the personal thread, right? My personal involvement. So those kinds of choices, I think, need to be made obviously case by case, and I think you should have a good reason for using it. Especially because you're going to minimum several $1,000s to go up to scale up to something which would be considered, you know, beyond mammoth plate, beyond 11 by 14 inches. My camera over there, let's say I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cameras, 6 cameras over there. 11, 14, 16, 20, 8, 10, half plate, and 2 8 by 10s actually. The other one's upstairs. So I base, most of those are workshop, some of them are workshop, but I base my format on the project I'm working on. And so maybe there'll be a 16 by 20 camera up for sale soon. I don't know. Anybody else have anything? Eric?
Well, I was going to say, I mean, everybody in the chat is far more experienced than me, but for people that watch this maybe later, I think for when you first get started, you want to do the bigger one because they have more of a, you know, they have more of a wow factor. But I noticed that, for me anyway, I've only been in this for 8 months or so, I've stopped doing that. I got an 8 by 10 Deerdorf, and it had some nice, you know, I've produced a few good plates, but one thing I noticed was that my smaller ones, because I was not as savvy on the techniques, when you would blow them up, and most people, they post them online, or what, the smaller ones actually look better than the larger ones, because you know, I would maybe have some small grains that you could detect once you blew it up in 8x10s. And so for a lot of for me, I would suggest, especially for people just getting started, smaller is better. You know, practice your craft for for as long as you can on that, because most of the time you're going to be just putting them online anyway, unless you're, unless you are really counting on selling plates for income. I think for me, I had to kind of switch, shift and go back to, a smaller plate, just so that I feel like I was producing better imagery that way than trying to do the 8x10s and saving money.
Great advice, Eric. I think that's completely true. And I'd say approach this process just like anything else you do. I say baby step. Like if you don't know how to swim and you're going to learn how to swim, the instructor doesn't take you out there and have you dive into the 15-foot end of the pool, right? You start out in the shallow end and you start your doggy paddle and you start your here's a breaststroke, and now I'm gonna go off in the deep end. That's kind of how I see it too. From the technical standpoint, start out in the kiddie pool, start out in the small stuff, right? And I don't mean that in the pejorative. I don't mean kiddie pool like in the pejorative. If you're making 4x5 plates for serious work, that's not kiddie pool. You could make any size of plate. That's post learning or post being efficient with the process. I'm addressing what Eric talked about, being new to the process or relatively new to the process, and what he's advising is absolutely correct. Start out small. It's going to save you a lot of money, a lot of headache, and possibly, there's safety issues involved too. I've seen a lot more plates go up in flame or a lot more stuff happen on the larger plates starting out than the smaller plates. Not accidents, but difficulties because of the size of the plate. And so I recommend people do quarter plate or 4x5. That's what I always do. Sometimes half plate, but that's what I recommend people starting out with and doing. It's great advice, Eric. And coming from someone that's relatively new to the process, that's important to know. So thanks for sharing that too. Anybody else? Talk about anything you want, but if you have anything on the format, or if big is important. Eric did address this too. Influence is incessant, and that influence and that pressure. I got a 16x20 camera right there. I got plenty of medium. I could go over and pour a plate right now and make a 16x20 image. I could do it. I don't know what that image would be for. Right? I don't know why I would do that. I'm surely not going to practice with 16x20. Oh yeah, set up the still life over here against your backdrop and light it up, and let's do 16x20s. Unless I'm doing a workshop or something that somebody needs that format size for, and they want to learn about the chemistry and the technique of pouring it. It's all different, guys. Once you pass 11x14, it's all different. The whole game changes. How you pour plates, how you handle them, how you develop them, all that stuff, it changes. Not radically. It's not like you wouldn't know how to do it, but you might not know how to adjust the chemistry, like Eric just asked. You might not know the techniques of pouring the plate efficiently or sensitizing it efficiently. You might not know how to maintain your 7 liters of silver bath that I pour into my tank every time I want to make a plate. Those kinds of things. It all, as it grows, it goes exponentially. It just doesn't double and then it doubles again and then double. It's exponential. It's like it blows up. So big plates are awesome in the right context, but just to do it, I say no. I think it's a waste of time, money, and potentially a big letdown for people. They are powerful, though. I do.
What I found, Quinn and Eric, just to butt in on you saying you have the least experience on the board or the panel here. No, I'm less than you, my friend. So you're not the rookie anymore.
No, but we have a wealth of knowledge of photography that's irrelevant to the knowledge of photography is the most important thing in this discussion, and you have a ton of them.
I understand. I just wanted to put that little poke in it, Eric, there, so it's to suggest that he's not the guessing.
He's not broken.
Yeah. What I've found in the both working here on my system and working down where my museum is that I do some work when you're familiar with that location. They have a much larger format. It's an 1890 AGFA. Almost looks like the Kodak Century, you know, the big studio thing. Whereas what I'm using is the Linhof technique of 4x5 with Snyder lenses. So when I'm comparing the results of both of those plates, what I find is from my Snyder lenses and whatnot, whether it's better glass, even though it's a smaller plate, I get a much, when I get a successful plate, I'll preface with that. With the smaller plate, because of the better glass, I think I'm getting a much finer detailed plate than on the larger one with the older glass. So I think for those of us who are learning, what we want to try to do is create the best opportunity to get the best images, so then I can see those mistakes. I can see those mistakes in technique. I can see the mistakes in just about every detail, because the result is that much finer. Now, maybe it's a fact that they're not using, you know, $4,000 or $5,000 cream of the crop lenses from that time period. I'm not sure, but I find I get much cleaner, much sharper images from my Linhof with Snyder lenses than I do from the time period correct material from the 1880s. So to me, that's important as part of the learning process. Size doesn't. I agree. Size does not matter.
Dale, I can tell you I think why you're getting better results with your what you're calling better results, and I guess it all needs to be qualified, right? If you look at 19th century lenses, if you look at how they're made, like my DeRoche has a piece of glass about that big around in it. So they start out with a Petzval, the concave and convex, glued in the front, air gapped in the back, right? We know how Petzval lens works. They take those components. There's 4 components in a Petzval lens, the glass pieces, and the concave and convex. And the way that they'd work that glass is they'd hand grind it. So on a piece of glass about that big, typically the sweet spot's about the size of a silver American dollar in that. So if you stop down really far, or if you put your photograph like that and then forget about the rest of this, you're good to go. But if you miss that sweet spot on a portrait on the eyes and you have it down on the chin, this is going to be sharp and that's going to be fuzzy, right? So what the imperfection of the glass of the 19th century, early 20th century requires that. That's why when you look at the specs for the old manuals and the old lens advertisements, they talk about a 25 centimeter lens or a 250 millimeter lens covering a 6 plate or a quarter plate, which could cover easily a 5x7, right? But they're only interested. They say that because they're going to mat out all that other crap around, all those artifacts that we like. They're going to mat all that out and have that image right in the sweet spot. That's how they need to do that. If they were doing landscapes, they'd use rapid rectilinears, the applanets, the edge-to-edge sharp stuff that we don't have any of that, and you're stopped down f32, f64, whatever it might be. So we don't have any of that. But that old glass, when you're doing those portraits especially, is when you're going to see it. That's why the difference. Now, here's a question for all of you. How many of you here use, Dale just said he uses modern lenses right now, but how many of you use modern lenses? How many of you use vintage lenses? And what's the difference, and how do you see those things affecting your work? You guys want to chime in on that?
Yeah, I could say something about my lenses. I don't have a lot of lenses. I have a vintage lens that I bought for an 8x10, but never got around to using the 8x10. I put it on 5x7, and I really like it. It's a lot sharper than a lens I was using. Like I said, I don't have a lot of lenses, so.
Yeah, I think what you'll find that what you just said there, Christine, you took that 810 lens, probably a 300 millimeter, is it?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so that's a normal average lens for an 8x10, and you put it down on a 5x7, just like what Dale just said a second ago. That will create a better image for you, technically, than it would on an 8x10. Typically, if it's an older lens, it's a vintage lens. You don't have as much fall off as if that's what we're talking about. Do you use modern lenses?
I have it. I bought a modern lens because it was cheap, and I don't know if it's got a UV coating on it or something, but it seems to me it gives off kind of more contrast results. So I'm not very fond of that lens.
Okay. You know, it's interesting. I read this was a little while ago. I think it was on my Facebook page, the Wet Collodion Facebook page. Somebody was saying none of the modern lenses are coated in UV. Well, you know, technically they're kind of correct, but they're not correct. There are coatings of UVs. We need to step back and say what does a vintage lens have and what does a modern lens have? A vintage lens is glass that's hand ground, that has a sweet spot about that big around in any given, you know, a lens that size is going to have a relatively smaller, in comparison, sweet spot. The modern lenses are all manufactured specifically. They're machined, they're engineered, they guide light in columns, if you will, basically through the lens, right? And anything outside of that is UV protected. They don't want any noise outside. That's why those lenses are so incredibly sharp. So it's bollocks when they talk about they're not UV coated. They are UV coated. They are. And you're going to see, slap a modern lens onto an image, put a vintage lens onto that same image, and you're going to see the difference, what Christine just talked about. For me, there's a more, I don't know how to describe it. I don't want to, she described it as contrasting. I understand that. I would actually say it's muted in a way as well. There's not that snappy snap. Can I point at it? There's not that snappy snap on the highlight, right? These are all vintage behind me. There's not that really boom, boom, you know, that good stuff. Where on the modern lens, where the vintage lens just, man, you let all that in and you're going to deal with that. You got to know how to deal with it, but you're going to deal with that in development and how you're applying the light. But the modern lens really requires a lot more light. That tells you something right there. What's going on with that? Well, it's only f6. You got an f3 lens. Well, okay, let's take the stop. Let's figure out the aperture and do the same test again. Put them both at the same thing. The modern lens is going to take more time than the vintage lens. It just is. That's the way, most of the time, that's the way it's going to go, especially under artificial light. That's the kicker.
Just to follow on that question, Quinn, I work with a couple of filter manufacturers as a field tester, and I'm toying the idea of trying to develop one with them for wet plate, and essentially the only thing we're doing is working a different wavelength, as I understand it. Now within the let's call it the normal spectrum, we can develop enhancing filters, which essentially eliminate the high and the low wavelengths, which allow the concentration on the wavelength on the film to be the normal, and therefore you get rid of the haze and so on. So it enhances the color. Is there any technical reason that you can think of where one could develop a filter which would eliminate the IR and the normal wavelength and just allow the that 400 nanoseconds and below in? So that thereby you should, I would think, increase the contrast. Yes, granted, it would increase the exposure time, but it should also increase the contrast by disallowing the non-recording wavelengths to enter the field.
I hear what you're saying. It's a good question. I hear what you're saying. To answer it quickly, if you look at the light spectrum, collodion, we're working with a medium that's the white or the bright, the most sensitive part is down around the 350 to 450 nanometer range. That's right in the UV a little bit and on the border of UV. Stuff we can't see and stuff we can barely see. The blue, green stuff down there. So we move up to green, and we move up into the yellows and then the reds and the infrared up in the 700 nanometer range, 350 to 700 nanometer. That's where we're sensitive. This is black, this is white. That's where our range is. We're working in a different range with modern lenses, like Dale said. Not really working with a different range, but seeing a different range. So to construct a lens that above 700 nanometers, red is black, yellow is pretty much black, depending on the hue of it, the 600, 625. and then you get down to 300 is screaming violet, white, and UV. Okay, so below that, what, gamma or X-ray? No, infrared, gamma, or X-ray. Below that, UVA, UVB, UVC. You're not going to record below that certain 350 nanometers, and you're not going to record above like 750 nanometers. So it's a it can't read that. It can't read those on those ranges, just like we can't see infrared or gamma or UV. We can't see it with our eyes. It's out of our range. Same thing with the orthochromatic collodion film or emulsion. It's the same process that works there. But lens-wise, I think what it'd be interesting to do is look at the somebody told me the other day that they were the Bastard site. Does anybody go to the Bastard site? They're doing something with the lens. Does anybody know that? They're having a vintage lens made, a modern, contemporary build of a vintage lens. Anybody know about that?
Mm-hmm.
Talk about it? I don't know, because I don't know anything about it.
I don't know much about it. I know they had contacted like an optical. And they're just looking for an alternative to the price of lenses have just gone up, and so a long, fast pencil design.
Okay. Did you get on that? Did you get in on that one?
No.
Oh, okay. What do you guys think about that? Do you think it's possible to recreate a 19th century lens? Like my de Rogy, some of you have actually photographed with it and have seen it. It's my favorite lens by far. Do you think that lens is? Can we make one of those today? Can we replicate that exactly like that? Do you think that's possible?
Why not? You're just re-engineering, reverse engineering.
Okay, so let's talk about that. I believe, this is my theory, I believe, just like when Lomography contacted me and wanted to use some of my Petzval portrait images for their advertisement for their Lomography lens, they raised $1.3 million for those brass Petzval lenses for the DSLR. They incorporated the same type of engineering plan, the same type of all that stuff. And yes, they had to develop one for the CMOS, this charge coupled device chip, and the DLSR, and so it's based on all those specs. But I don't know if anybody's ever seen one of those Lomography lenses. I told them to take a long walk off a short plank. They're terrible. And unless you stop them down to f8, those images are soft and fuzzy. There's no sweet spot. There's no sharp spot on any of those things. Nothing.
I looked into them, Quinn, because I thought it was going to give me an economical alternative, and what I discovered in very quick order is exactly what you're saying. And the other thing is they are absolutely useless for wet plate, regardless of adapting, because they have UV coating on the front element.
Yeah. So talk about that reverse engineering. How are you going to recreate a Dallmeyer 3B lens today, like it was then? Do you have that glass available? Do you have those grinders available? Do you have those hand machinists available to recreate that? I don't know. And guess what? If you're off just a little bit...
that's my understanding is, and I think, who was it, Eric that was talking about it earlier? I can't recall. I'm not seeing all the names coming up. My understanding is, and I've talked to them a bit about it, they actually have a 3B, permission to tear it apart. They do have an optician who specializes in lenses, and he is going to re-engineer using the exact processes that was used at that time as best they can. Yeah. So in theory, when you say can it be done, I say yes, you reverse engineer it. In theory, it can be done. In practice, well, that's why we're only building 10 to see what. I'm sorry you broke up, Quinn.
You know what? That's no problem. I hope they're successful. I hope whomever's in on this, I hope they're successful. I really do. Because I might even get in on that action too if it is. But you know what my prediction is, and this can stay online forever because I'm going to say it. I don't think it'll work. I don't believe it'll work. And if it does, it's not going to be quite right. It's going to be just a little bit off. It's not quite going to be kind of close, but not quite. And the reason is, have you ever heard, anybody ever heard about like making sourdough bread in San Francisco versus making sourdough bread in, say, Nova Scotia, Canada? Just the geographical area, the way that dough is, where they, for everything, San Francisco sourdough bread is San Francisco sourdough bread because it's made in San Francisco, and it needs to be made there. 19th century Dallmeyer 3B lenses were made in the 1860s and 70s, or I don't know, 50s to 70s, let's just say whatever lens. And they were made then and look the way they do because they were made then. They look this way because there's a quality about them that can't really be, I don't believe, can be replicated. And I don't think these guys are going to, I hope they succeed, but I don't think they're, as best opticians and everything else. I hope they do, but my prediction is they won't. What do you guys think?
I think it's like the Impossible Project. I mean, they have all the specs for Polaroid, and they're starting to make a decent product, but it's not like the old, you know.
Thank you, Brett. I'm going to use that analogy for this because that is exactly the same thing. Why can't we produce Polaroid? Reverse engineer, baby. Reverse engineer. Why can't we do it? Believe me, there's no Polaroid out there. I love Polaroid, and I shot Impossible. No, it's impossible to look at those photographs. That's what's impossible. So great analogy. Same thing, Brett. I don't believe it's going to happen. I hope it does, but I don't believe it. I already told you. Yeah?
I was just going to say, I think that it's possible maybe to get it to a point that's so close that only someone who is really intimately and thoroughly, you know, has an eye for this, you know, maybe the average person wouldn't tell the difference.
That's what lomography did too. Lomography banked on that. Their engineering and their whole philosophy was that on this wasn't, and they'll tell you that too. It's not going to be exact. How could we make it exactly like that? There's no way, right? And they're right. They're true. So what their philosophy was, hey, this is built into the project. We're making a lens, but we're not saying it's going to be exactly the way. It's going to be a reasonable facsimile. How about that? A reasonable facsimile. I will give you that. You will get a reasonable facsimile, but you're not going to get a Dallmeyer 3A, 3B, Desrosiers, Jamin Darlot, whatever you want to say. You're not going to get that. They're there. You know, how do I put this? I don't know. I've just been through this. They're not going to do it. They're going to get close maybe, but they're not going to pull it completely off. And so I'll quit harping on that. But I was just curious about that and where they were at on that. I hadn't heard for a long time. I've been kind of out of the loop. So, but God bless them if they can do it. That's wonderful. I'll buy one if it's legit, or they want to sell me one. I'll do it. But maybe. But I just can't hardly believe that. But so back to this idea of making work or making photographs from a personal standpoint, or making work from a personal standpoint. Christine shared some. Dale talked a little bit about. I mean, he didn't really talk about. Sometime he'll talk about what he's going to do. Jan talked about last time about his portrait project in his hometown, or the town that he lives in. If you guys will keep me like. I'd like to do a little bit. I'd like to follow through with some of you. Like, I'd like to see if you send me a link once in a while of what you're doing. I'd love to see that stuff, and kind of. I like to keep my finger on the pulse of what everybody's doing, and kind of me included. And we can come in here next time. I think I'd like to be able to share a little more of what I've done to put it in more of a context. And I'd like to get, I know this is going to go public and all that, but in this live interaction, I'd like to really probe you guys a little bit and talk a little bit about my methodology and see what you think about it, and see how you respond to how I'm going to present this work, and show you some of the prints I'm gonna show you a couple of prints next time, and I want you to respond to them. And if you do a favor like that for me, and you share your work back, I really want to start an exchange and a dialogue. And maybe we can do a little bit before these meetings, and then come into these meetings and kind of talk about them, rather than trying to kind of figure it out along the way. I'd love to do that. If you guys are up for that, I'd like to do that, because I'd like to participate in that the next time if we can.
Yeah, I'd love to.
So let me know.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I think feedback from other people is a good way to figure out if you're how it's going to affect other people. I mean, you create this work when you're by yourself and you don't really know what others tell you. So yeah.
Yeah, you're in a bubble, right? And you gotta get out of that bubble somehow. So if we were to do this, I've got a meeting in 10 minutes, so I've got to take off. But if we do this next time, so this was a really nice get-together. It was fun to throw all this around, and it was fun to look. Thank you for bringing some work in too, guys. If we do this next time, we can come together, and like a week before, like I'll put it. Maybe I'll put it in the middle of April. We'll set something for the middle of April, and those that can join us, maybe a week before, put together 2 or 3 pieces like Christine did, and have either you can do them physical, like if you want to actually have them in the show, you can show them in the show. I think I'm going to show mine here rather than digital, or put them up online. I'll show you some prints. But if you want to do that, send them along, or send them out to whomever wants to participate, or whatever. Send them to me, and I'll push them out, and we can kind of get some feedback before, and you can have some thoughts formulated or some questions for the artist. And anybody that wants to participate in that can, and we'll kind of try that and do that and see. I think it's like Christine said. I think it's one of those things where you can kind of kick the tires, and not just to anybody. The people that come in here are special people. They're people that have knowledge, that they're struggling with their own process, or struggling or have questions with their own methodology or the way they're thinking, or they're really excited about something, they want to share it. We're all in that same boat. So I just like the peers. I like that exchange with peers, and I think that's important and valuable. You know, we can talk about the technical, we can talk about the conceptual, but I'd like to be able to formulate some thoughts before we come in. So if that's cool with you guys, I'll make a spot in the middle of April, and we'll all come back together and see if we can bounce a little bit more work around.
I think it's a great idea. So in the meantime, I have started a little bit some test portraits for my project, and yeah, outside in February.
Are they small prints? No, good.
Yeah. I can show you some tests just shortly, not to spend too much time.
Please.
One of the best I'm proud of on this is I will show you if I'm right. Can you see?
Yes.
Can you see now? No.
I see your Facebook page. There you go.
Facebook, yeah. No.
Yeah.
Sorry, then I have.
Good. I'm curious about that first one, the top left corner. What's that one?
Wow. This one.
You've intrigued us, Jan. Let's see. They're tiny and we can't see them.
Can you see this? Oh, sorry.
I see your Facebook page.
I see. Now I will close it.
There you go. Yes.
Different screen. Sorry. I will share the. Where's the screen?
That's beautiful. What was that? Yosemite somewhere?
Moment. Moment. I have to. What do you see now?
I see me.
Okay.
There we go.
It's also
I see
good.
You. And just go over to that green screen share, and you can share it up.
Yeah. Yes. but I have too much screens on my laptop, and that's the problem.
Too many windows are open. There you go. There you go. We see the thumbnails now. We just need them enlarged.
Yeah, I want to show you just now I know if I enlarge it, then it opens a different screen.
Oh, well,
That's
share that.
right.
Jan, open one, and then go back to screen share, and that screen will be available to share. Yeah, because they'll open up any screen. Yeah, now go to the screen share, and you'll be able to share the screen that it opened in.
Maybe this one. But yeah, I will just.
Here we go. Here we go. Yeah.
This is just test. I will not lose our time. I want to show you just maybe you see it enough. It's the size is.
Yeah.
So I have started with these portraits. Now and for example this one looks not bad. This guy, my friend.
Yeah.
And this is my these portraits are my first portraits I have started with. But outside was -5 degrees Celsius, so all the people were photographed in very cold conditions.
That's 25 degrees. That's 25 degrees Fahrenheit for you. Fahrenheit.
So, so I'll try to make a preview. It works.
There you go. That's nice, Jan.
This is my friend, and it was really a half a year old developer, and you know the situation was very bad, and outside was cold, and with rest of collodion and very old developer, and the result is this. I was very proud on it because it was really just one test, one shot, and -5 degrees Celsius, and that's
it looks like he's looking at that emulsion caving in on him.
And this man is father of my girlfriend, and if you see these I cannot describe these art
those are technically called developer sweeps.
Yes, because there was really very cold, -6 degrees or so outside.
Yes.
And the plate was a little bit frozen, maybe already. When I poured it, it was.
The way the developer took on the way the iron interacted with the silver iodide, the way the developer flowed over the plate, the different temperatures and the different temperature of the collodion, and maybe even if it was frozen, if you had some ice or something, maybe.
Yes. So it was just test what I started with. Now
I love the cigarette in his mouth, by the way.
Yes.
Hello, hi.
I do not like cigarettes or smokers or people with cigarettes on photographs, but father of my girlfriend is smoker, and he was waiting for sensitizing of my plate. So then I told him, so please, so you can have your cigarette in your mouth. I will take shot of you with your cigarette because you are smoker. It is not prepared to make the picture more interesting.
For sure, no. I think that's part of him. I think that's very interesting.
Exactly.
Jan, I find it curious though. Do you find it curious, and anyone else can chime in on this, the pattern of those developer sweeps are very interesting to me, because I want to say...
For me too.
Yeah. I want to say, are they like veins? Are they like a tree? Are they roots? Are they roots of a tree?
Yes.
You know, they're visually, there's something going on there that's interesting.
Yeah. And that's the reason why I like this process.
Yes.
And this is also very nice. This is last picture. Sorry for that, but I would like to show this young guy. I'm very proud on it because it was also very, very cold outside, and he was standing, I don't know, 5 seconds, and also one shot and one plate. So
isn't it interesting? There's some, Jan, you might be onto something here. I've never thought about taking people out into the -10 degree weather and making portraits of them. Look at how you see.
I have no other chance.
Image.
Sorry.
You can see it.
I have no other chance because I have no studio, I have no artificial lights, so my only studio is outside in front of my house, yeah.
Perfect.
And therefore,
that's a better thing, Jan. You know,
yeah.
if I could have everybody learn collodion in the natural light, that artificial light's a breeze. If you know how to make it out of doors, outside. No problem with artificial light. That's the better way to start. You're doing great stuff there, man. That looks good. I'm excited to see where you go with it. I'm excited to hear the stories about the people. Next time we come in, about a week before, I'm going to send an email out to the guys that I know are out there that are interested in this, and I'm definitely interested in it. And we'll get together next time. We'll really kind of formalize some image viewing and some critiquing. If you make any new work, or if you do something, you want to test something out and present it and show it or get some feedback, I say we should open this up to anything. If we're struggling with something, if we want to get some good feedback or questions on something, let's use our peers, and these are good people in here. You guys are great. So I'm looking forward to it. I got to run right now. I've got somebody coming over, so I got a meeting. But thank you so much again. I appreciate your time. Listening to me ramble most off, and thank you for sharing your work, and I look forward to seeing you all next month.
Thank you, Quinn. Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Thank you. Blessings, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye. See you soon.